I refuse to fight with YouTube tonight. Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the Bryant Chambers movement. I believe we are live. Hopefully, I am not incorrect in that assertion. Yes, we are 5 seconds live. So, welcome to the Bryant Chambers movement. If you're watching this after the fact, you can feel free to skip ahead probably about a minute or two. I like to give the audience an opportunity to get to the show before I really dig into the meat of what we're going to talk about here. So if you want to just kind of skip around. Now, before you do skip, though, let me just kind of preface what we're going to be talking about tonight, tell you why it's important, because most of my audience knows this already because they got it in an email or on Facebook or what have you. But if you're new, first and foremost, let me just encourage you, especially if you get something good out of what we talk about tonight. If you think this sucks, then don't worry about what I'm about to say. But if you get something good out of what we're talking about tonight, I cannot encourage you enough to go to twitch.tv/Bryant Chambers. Follow me on Twitch. If you don't have a Twitch account, I understand it's creating another social media platform thing. But I can't encourage it enough, especially if you are following me. You probably fit into one of two categories. You are a freelancer that's looking for advice on how to get better in yourself and better at your craft so that you can make more money, you can enjoy your life a lot more, and have a great deal more joy and happiness in what you do. Or you're an entrepreneur looking for very similar things, or you may be one of both of those things, or just a person that's looking for life strategy advice, right? So if that's you, then I can't stress enough that you have a Twitch channel, because regardless of what you do as a freelancer or an entrepreneur, Twitch is I mean, it already has, but it's going to become more prolific as a live streaming platform for other types of material besides games. So I have a link here in the chat, which if you're watching this after the fact, it probably doesn't mean anything to you. But I highly recommend you go to twitch.tv/Bryant Chambers, because what we're doing here in the YouTube space is eventually going to stop. These are the last of the streams that I'm doing specifically for my audience of about 40,000 people here across, two different YouTube channels, to help them understand what the transition looks like, to give them more value before we shut it down, to let them know, hey, we're going to be moving to Twitch and to my podcast and focusing a lot more. And we're already doing this on Facebook. But also to let folks know, many people come to these calls because many of they average between 2 and 4 hours of content, right? And content and Q&A, not just me up here, on a bandwagon talking about some secret agenda, right? Like actual helpful content. And so as a result, many people ask, "Hey, do you provide, private coaching?" And the answer is, I do not do one-on-one coaching with individuals, usually because they can't. An individual, in most cases, right? Uh, just a random passerby on YouTube is not going to be able to afford what I would charge to sit down with somebody for 8 hours, right? My time, just like your time, is extremely valuable. But I do offer online coaching courses where there is some, at least for the next, for a very short time, there's still interaction with me before it's just consuming the content of me coaching other people. But I do offer that, and one of the reasons why I've been doing the live streams too is to hit my audience to, hey, you've been asking me about this. This exists. And oh, by the way, and I was supposed to do the math before I got on the stream, so let me do it now. By the way, I'm going to tell you how much cheaper it is if you're to do it now. So let's, all right, so that's that. And then we're going to take, yeah, it's like 70% off. If people that are joining now, and we've had a number of people join now, it's 70% cheaper than it's going to be in the very near future when we finish the program. We finish updating the website. In fact, I have to go to Staples tomorrow to scan um, the practical exercise that everyone's going to have to do on their next coaching call. There's a huge practical exercise on mindfulness, and it's like a 20-page packet, not entirely different from this one here, that I got to go scan and make digital so that people can go through it. So there's a ton of value in there, and people that are jumping on board now are getting it 70% cheaper than it's going to be, because I'm going to charge a fair price when we finish it. Right now, I'm making it unfair for myself. So that's some of the reasons why we're here, and why I encourage folks, get into the Twitch space, because I think you'll get a lot of value. Now, what we came here to talk about tonight is how to, what do you do? You're faced with hard choices. You're faced with a dilemma. You're faced with something in your life where you've got to go one of a number of directions. Oftentimes, dilemmas don't just have two options, they may have 19 different options, and you're trying to find what is the best solution to this problem that I'm facing. And what I'm going to talk about here, shortly after I do kind of the welcome and greeting to the folks that are watching live, is how do you do that? And I'm going to illustrate it by telling a story of something I had to do as a leader on the battlefield in combat. And I had to make a decision where I was forced into making basically one of two decisions, or you could technically say it was three, but we'll get into the specifics. I was forced into a very small window of decisions, and each decision had a bad outcome, right? So, how do you deal with a dilemma when it seems like there is no good outcome here? How do you weigh your options? And by the way, most of you, when you're faced with a dilemma, you have a little bit of time to think about it. I had roughly 30 to 45 seconds to make this call, right? So, and I had a team of people who were there that I was responsible for that were in danger with the call that I had to make. So I'm going to get into the specifics of what that is. We'll tell the story. The story doesn't take that long to tell. As always, we'll make time for Q&A. You can ask me questions at any time during the call. Just write them right here in the comment section. Another administrative note for those of you who may not be regulars here. You do not have to ask me questions about what I'm talking about. Like if you have a question tonight that's not about how to make hard decisions, doesn't matter. Ask your question, right? I have a topic, but I don't have an agenda, right? Like well, it's not accurate. I have content that I want to get through, so I have an agenda. But when it comes to the Q&A, my agenda then becomes how do I best help you? Maybe right now, facing hard decisions isn't your very specific challenge. Maybe you're having an issue with something completely different. Uh, and then believe me, people come on these calls with all kinds of challenges that we work together to help them because I am not the one making up solutions for you guys. Right? I'm not a shaman or, some crystal ball reading dude who knows all the answers. I don't. What I do is I work with people to help you find the answers to your challenge in a way that works for you to help you be what you consider successful. So we're going to do that tonight. Young IGG says, "What's good, B? Got my pen and pad ready tonight." Yeah, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, dude. Also looking forward to getting you in the program in a couple of weeks, man. Looking forward to you coming over. So just pat yourself on the back because I don't know if you got to the call in time, but I don't know if you realize the price that you're paying is 70% less than what it's going to. I think it's 70. Sometimes I get my math wrong. It's a lot less. It's like 70% less than what everyone else is going to pay for it when we're done with it. So I did that as a thank you to my audience, the proactive people who come here day after day after day. I feel like it's right and proper for me to say thank you for spending time with me because your time is no less valuable than mine. Um, and time is extremely valuable, which, going back to the original discussion, it's why I don't do one-on-one coaching because I'd work 12 to 14 hours a day and not make really any money for my family to live as well as I want them to, right? Because it's a ton of work and most people could not afford what I would charge. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you numbers if you guys want to know. If let's say a restaurant came to me, and I don't typically work with restaurants. I mean, I do, I help them, but it's not like my forte. It's not the type of clients that I've sought out. But let's say a restaurant came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to advise us on how to build a marketing strategy using our website, Google, SEO, Google Ads, um, social media. We want you to help us put a strategy together and coach us because we don't want to pay for a service. I'm going to have, let's say, my administrative assistant that works at the restaurant actually do it. We want you to come in and coach us." I'd say, great. So basically, section off about 8 hours over the next, wherever you can fit in 1 hour blocks for 8 hours. I need you to find 8 hours of time because that's how long it's going to take me to coach you on how to do this right. right? And at the end of it, hand you your strategy for what you need to do going forward and how you adjust it, because the strategy can't just be static. It has to move and adjust with the times and adjust with what's going on in your market. And I have to teach them how to adjust to that, right? That 8 hours is going to cost them, depending on the business, right? Like, let's just say it's a business that's not, super, super wealthy, and my strategy is going to help them increase revenue, but not like increase it by, $100 million or something like that. That little 8 hour session is going to cost them at least 5 G's, right? Most people don't have 5 G's laying around to just hand me, and that's why I don't do one-on-one coaching, because the amount of time, and that's 8 hours of me with them. That doesn't count the hours that I have to do in preparation and studying their business and researching and figuring out who their competitors are. Like, there's a lot of back end work that I would have to do to get them ready. So yeah, that's why when people ask me, "Oh, you don't do one on one? Can I just pay you, like $100 and you can coach me personally?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do that, but you'd be robbing my family." And that's one of the things I need to teach you guys, that some of you that want to be freelancers and entrepreneurs, everybody when they first start undercharges, because you don't believe that your time and your services are valuable, because usually you're just getting started. And I've worked with people who've been in business 20 years that still undercharge, because it's an insecurity thing, and it's a, I don't want to be overbearing. It's like, no, dog, you're taking time. You are taking time out of my kids. You're taking time away from my kids, and that's my kids and my wife. That's the most precious thing on the planet, right? That's gonna cost you, right? And that's the thing I have to teach you guys, is when you go in there, don't go in there like, yeah, I can work for. And it's not that I don't empathize for the person that wants to pay me $100 a month because that's what they can afford, but that's not a fair deal. It's fair for them because they're going to get all of me, because I learned a long time ago as a musician, you play for 2,000 people the same way you play for two people. And I've done that. I've done shows where the only people left at the show, because I've played shows like as a part of a whole 20 different bands playing. I played shows, by the time we touched stage, the only people at the show were the two promoters and the guys in the sound booth. And we still went out there, and I take that back, and my mom and my wife were at this show. We still went out there and got after it, right? So I'm going to rock that hard for my mom and my wife and the two brothers in the sound booth, who were dancing, by the way, because we rocked that hard. I saw the brothers in the sound booth because me and the band had worked out this hook that we took from the Roots, and we rejiggered it. And so when we start doing it, and I'm older, so I grew up with the Roots. And everyone back in those days when I was playing music knew who the Roots were. Now everybody thinks they're the band on the Tonight Show. I'm like, I go back to when they were the Roots. You know what I mean? It's my favorite band of all time. And I went into the hook, and then our lead singer was backing me up when I did it, and I saw the people in the sound booth immediately like, yo, that is so, like, they went off, because the way we took the Roots and made it our own, kind of as a love letter to them, everybody went nuts. But we came to the show because, by the way, we were getting paid whether there was an audience or not. I'm not going to show up at that show and just see my mom and my wife standing there, and then I'm just going to half-ass it. Like, yeah, man, what's up? Like, no, we came out and did the show, right? And so it's the same thing with coaching. I'm not going to show up just because you're paying me $100 and half-ass you because you don't have $5,000 to pay me. But that's why I won't take a client in that regard, because as much as I want to help them, it's imbalanced, and you guys have to learn what's fair for you as well. You have to know your value before you just go out here and you're so excited that somebody wants to pay you, and you just take anything, and you end up selling yourself. But here's the deal: you also sell your client short when you do that. When you don't ask for enough money, which, by the way, I realize I'm being hypocritical because my coaching program is 70% off, but I'm doing that specifically to say thank you. I know I'm taking an L on that. That's okay, because that's a short-term L to what? Get people that work with me. They're going to go through this program. I've had a person already come through it, and she may be here tonight. Already had a woman come through it who just joined and emailed me the next day and said, yo, I just went through the first video of your program. That was worth the whole price, right? Because that's how we bring it. And, we're going to bring it even harder when we have our next live call. So those are the things you guys need to think about. I know that's not really about decision making, but these shows tend to go off the rails. So if you haven't learned that about me at this point, then I don't know what to tell you. But you have to know your value, you have to know your worth, and you got to stop lowballing yourself. And that goes for business and money, but it also goes for in your relationships. You've got to build that personal security and know that you have value and know that you're a good person who brings something to the table and then demand what you're worth. Now, it's okay if you demand a little bit less, but you shouldn't be taking L's on the regular because of that, right? So I want to start now that we got pretty much everyone here and people will come and go. I want to start by sharing something with you tonight before we get into the meat of decision making. And this is about you, okay? The simple fact that you are here tonight tells me a few things. One, you are a person who is dedicated to improving your life, right? Because you're taking time out of a Friday night when you could be out partying, you could be out doing anything else with your friends, and you're here to learn something, hopefully, that's valuable to you. And I'm going to do my absolute godly best to give you something of value, right? Every time we touch stage, that's what I told you. If you've been through my 69 pillars, I have a video called What a Jazz Musician Taught Me About Respect. And it was about respecting my audience. And so he taught me, it was at a restaurant on my birthday. He was a jazz pianist, and I went to talk to him because musicians and comedians kind of have this bond, right? We just kind of, it's like military veterans. We just kind of come together. And so, um, first and foremost, you are a person who is dedicated to improving your life. You are a person who's proactive. You are a person that does not drag your feet when faced with a decision to improve your life. You are the type of person that sees opportunity, and when you see it and you know it can benefit you, even if it may be difficult, even if you know you may have to go through something or you may have to suffer, not suffer, but you may have to strain a little bit to get to that opportunity, you're the type of person who's going to find a way to make that opportunity real because you understand that getting after that opportunity, even though it's going to cost you something, is going to pay you 10 to 100 times more on the back end when you go through it. And that's exactly tied to tonight's discussion, how I felt I didn't want to go to war when we learned that this was about to go down. I had a lot of misgivings about who we were fighting and why we were fighting them. You know, there was a lot of turmoil politically when this was getting ready to go on. But I did remember kind of in the back, I always talk about that subconscious, the back depths of my soul, there was a part of me that said, well, if we do have to go through this, the absolute good that's going to come out of it is that I'm going to be scarred. I know that. I'm going to have, emotional things that come about from warfare. But I, in my spirit, am going to be stronger as a person for having to go through that hardship. I knew that. I believe if you're here hanging out with me on a Friday night, that's you. You're willing to go through hardship to take advantage of opportunities to get to whatever your dream, whatever your goal, whatever your definition of success is. So I want to celebrate you. I want to pat you on the back before we even start tonight's discussion to say thank you for being here and just keep getting after it because I believe you're the type of person that doesn't leave opportunities on the table. When an opportunity pops up, you're like, "Yep, I'm getting in because I know this is going to take me somewhere. At the very least, I'm going to learn something from this that's going to make me better down the road and help me be more successful." So, cheers to you. Terrence Dearman, actor for hire. First of all, brother, I love the name change. Now, is this a new channel or did you just change the name of your existing channel? Because I love that. He says, "What's up, all? You change what you feel. You charge what you feel your time is worth." Let's see. Alyssa says, "I bet you're only 40. That's not old when people are living to 100 plus." Thank you. I'll take that. It's funny because the people at the grocery store, I've had people tell me they think I'm still 27. I'm like, that's cool. Thanks. Thank you for that. I'm glad I still look 27 to some people, or 40 to Alyssa. Either one. I'll take either. My kids thought I was 53, which was, I'm like, guys, come on. What's going on here? Do I look that old? Because kids can't judge age. On the wall behind me, you can't see what's written. This little, let me see, where am I on the camera? You are on this side. So that little green, that white piece of paper with the green border is a picture that my son in preschool drew of me. We had a daddy night at school, and this is what he said. "My dad is 16 years old. He weighs 50 pounds, and he's 59 feet tall. He likes to cook spaghetti, which is absolutely not true. His favorite TV show is football. Dad always tells me to clean up, and Dad is happy when I clean up. When Dad shops, he likes to buy Greek food. I'm like, "God, where did he? I don't know where he got this stuff from. Uh, if he could go on a trip, he would go to the pool. I hate the pool. Uh, on his trip, he would take the whole family. Dad's favorite thing to do is eat Greek food. That is not true. So, nothing that my son wrote on this thing. So, maybe my favorite thing to watch on TV is football, but I don't watch TV, and I rarely even watch sports or football. But it's just funny. That's how kids, see the world. So it's my son thinks I'm 16 rather than 40. So take it with take it for what it is. But yeah, so I think the gray in my beard betrays me being 20 something though. Although that's not true. I've had gray hair since I was 23. Believe it or not, I have had gray hair since I was 23 years old. I used to have because I used to wear my hair a little bit longer, and I had salt and pepper right here, and I think a lot of that was because of stress and the nature of my job. It's like you ever see the president starts with regular hair and then it's all gray, but like Obama's hair was white by the time he was finished working. I think the nature of my job kind of did that. Good Guys Gaming. What's up, Good Guys Gaming? Good to see you guys, man. I just turned 40, so I'll take that also. Word up. Cool, man. It's good to see you, man. Let's see. Terrence Dearman, Actor for Hire, says, new channel, my vlogging channel. My old channel will be rebranded as a headset review channel since I'm still getting comments on my headset vids 6 years later. Yeah, man. Yeah, the beauty of YouTube. The beauty of YouTube. So thanks everybody for being here. I just wanted to praise you guys a little bit, pat you on the back, tell you a funny story about my son thinks I'm 16 years old, and the part I love was my son thinks I'm not only 50 pounds, which is amazing, but I'm also 59 feet tall. So I'm like less than a pound a foot, which means I don't think that guy's going to live very long. Alyssa says, I said you're likely 40, not that you look 40. You look younger than you are, I'm sure. Possibly. I wasn't taken aback by it. I was just teasing. I thought it was funny. But your comment was 100% right. People live to be, my great grandmother just passed away. She was 96. Um, so, yeah. And I think the only reason she didn't make it to 100 because she was bored. Like, I'm getting out of here. I don't have anything to do. So, anyway, let's get into the meat of tonight's discussion. And what I'd like to do is be quick about my storytelling and give you all the most amount of time to ask questions about anything, whether it's related to the topic of decision making, whether it's related to, a challenge that you're facing in your life, whether it's related to, coaching programs that we have, things that you're interested in, anything that you'd like. Um, we can make that happen for you tonight. So, this idea of let's see, Reading Dave says he just sees you larger than life. That he does. He's my guy too, man. He's a hilarious little dude. We took the family bowling tonight before I came here. I was gonna stream earlier, but then we ended up. I had to do my doctor stuff today, and that went until later in the afternoon. So I was like, let's just do it. Let's go bowling later in the evening, and then the kids can eat dinner and hopefully pass out. But this idea of when you face hard choices, here's what to do and here's how to do it. Let me tell you the story. So, you have to understand war is foggy. It all seems like one really long day when you're trying to remember. And keep in mind, I was in combat this 2019, like 15 years ago. So I have been pretty far removed from that. But so trying to remember the exact specifics of where I was. I don't remember what town I was in. I believe we had not reached Baghdad yet, but we were working our way up there from the south. But either way, we were holding a pretty large piece of land, and part of doing that. Oh, let's take these comments before I go in. Good Guys Gaming says, so been subscribed for years but been quiet. I responded as you decided to stream only on Twitch. This video was of interest to me as I just made affiliate on Twitch. Awesome. I had a similar decision to make. Simple question. Twitch seems to want to make monetization easy. YouTube does not. Am I wrong? So I wouldn't necessarily say you are wrong in that regard. Um, YouTube is under the gun because they became the biggest thing on the planet, and monetization becomes difficult for a couple of reasons. One, people using copyrighted material, especially with video games, because who really owns the copyright to the playing of the game, right? And copyrights are a squishy thing. They're not black and white. I own a copyright. In America, you are forced to defend your copyrights or you can use it. In Japan, like people were yelling at Nintendo, like, Nintendo. It's like, you don't understand, man. Copyright laws in freaking Japan, they don't have a fair use exception to copyright law. Like, they don't have any of that. So they have to go hard. And especially when you look at how like even music studios are built in Japan, why stuff is so expensive there. It's like all these people are getting royalties, so they had to be able to pay them, and it gets really complicated. So YouTube came under fire many years ago, right before Content ID kicked in hard, because people were like, "We're going to sue you. We're not going to sue these creators because we know they're broke, but you have your Google. You're sitting on billions of dollars. We're coming after you." Especially because especially with music, because the music industry was starting to struggle at that same time, and so we're coming after you for money. It became a ruthless tribal battle for money. So YouTube is like, listen, we're just the middleman. Here's what we'll do: we'll create this system, right? um the Content ID system, which certain creators have access to Content ID, right? Certain ones don't, certain ones do. Usually, if you're a very big channel, you have access to that platform, and you can literally upload your videos, highlight pieces of it, and you learn this when you go through YouTube certification. So if you've been through that, forgive me if I'm saying what you already know. Um, they can say if anyone plays this clip of the video, claim it and give me my money. YouTube gave the keys of the kingdom to big YouTube channels and people that held copyrights, right? Or big channels that held copyrights, especially music publishers. So if I play Kendrick Lamar's "All the Stars," guarantee whatever record label he's on owns the rights to that, has it uploaded in their system, and says if this ever gets played, claim the video immediately and give us our money. YouTube then didn't give the creator any recourse to say, well, wait a minute, I'm doing a review of this video. This is the fair use exception to copyright law. And people used to scream that at me, this is fair use. And I kept telling them, YouTube doesn't care about fair use. They care about not getting sued. And who is more likely to sue them? You, Johnny Creator, who probably couldn't afford the lawyer to go after Google, or Sony, BMI, right? All these people that can come after them for, right? So YouTube acquiesced to the people with all the money because they didn't want to keep, and you're talking about a platform that was losing money for years. They couldn't afford it. So they had to build constraints uh, to effectively stop people from abusing copyrighted material. But in the course of doing that, they also indirectly, and I'm in my opinion, um, inadvertently made it more difficult for us to do what we do, right? So that's the copyright side. Then we get into this new age where after 9/11, everyone starts becoming increasingly more hypersensitive. I mean, we have whole movements of people now talking about being triggered because you said a certain word. That's now what the vocal minority has deemed offensive. And now if that word's on your video, YouTube is all about the PR. Like Susan W said something about it while her comments about when James Damore was fired. I was just like, that's really disappointing, Susan. Like she was like, I was hurt. Like hurt by what? He didn't do anything wrong, right? Like this is a witch hunt because a guy happened to point out we might be a little out of balance here, and the way we're trying to create diversity may be counterintuitive to actually having diversity. And so everyone kind of had to toe the company line of, oh, he's evil and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh my god, I actually hope to be able to get him on my podcast in the next year or so to talk to him about that. But the point is, they're not intentionally making it hard. It's just they're under so much scrutiny and pressure because of this vocal minority of young people who are offended at everything. And it's just like, okay, Certain companies are going to draw a line and say we don't care. Google's not going to do that. Google plays the game very, very socially liberal. So anything that you can attribute to very liberal ideals, like words that offend people, right? You know, people being triggered, those are more liberal ideas. I'm not saying they're wrong, by the way. I'm just saying that they err on that side. That's why James Damore was fired, because even though he's a liberal, which is hilarious, but it comes back to they're going to play the game to keep the PR, toe the company line, and make themselves live up to their company vision, which is don't be evil. The problem is evil is really subjective, right? Like I would say firing James Damore, even though I praised them for it because it was like they stuck to their values. But then when I dug into it more and understood, I watched some more interviews. I was like, no, that was a punk move, right? I kind of had to. I didn't take back what I said because at the time I believed it, but the point is, you are working on a system that is under constant financial and social scrutiny. So, in order for them, and remember, at the end of the day, the people who are driving that whole train are advertisers. Advertisers don't want their ads on something that's going to potentially offend their customers. And if their customers are a part of that vocal minority, that's going to be a problem. Right? It's why you don't see Ferrari and Lamborghini ads on YouTube because they couldn't give two craps about the YouTube audience because 85% of them couldn't buy, you know, or more couldn't ever buy a Lamborghini. So they're not afraid to offend the people. Right? So I don't think Twitch is necessarily making it easier while YouTube's making it harder. I think Twitch is just it's almost like when people used to say, well, you know, Apple computers never get viruses. It's like, yeah, ding dong, because no one uses Apple computers. Right? It's they're the smaller player in the game right now, and I think they're just under less scrutiny. As they continue to progress, I imagine that will get a little bit more challenging. I might be wrong, but I think that's what's up. Dmitry Provorov says, I had to make a tough decision to quit drinking and partying and take a harder, longer, more sustainable path. Hard choice to make because it is easy to party and ignore responsibility. Yeah, absolutely. Dimitri says, people like you, wow, you're going to put me in the same sentence as Jordan Peterson? That is high praise, man. I don't know if I deserve that, but thank you. People like you and Jordan Peterson were good to get inspiration from during this process. Look, man, God bless you. I'm very glad to hear that. And props to you. You're exactly what I was saying at the beginning of the video about people. Anyone who's here on my live stream on a Friday night, pat yourself on the back because you guys are the people that are going to be winning when all your friends are complaining about the next president and everything else when they're not taking personal responsibility and ownership of their lives. So props to you, man. And I'm glad and I'm honored to have been a part of that process. Good Guys Gaming says, seems a shame. Wasn't this the unique selling point for YouTube? Yeah, but remember, everything when it starts small, it's all easy. And then once something blows up, you're under the microscope. You know, one of my mentors, who's a very wealthy public speaker and minister, used to always say, do good, shun publicity, bro. Like, I stay out of the limelight. So, you know. Medi says, hey, Brian, please do you suggest starting a business right after graduation from college or starting a safe job and starting later on my own business? That really depends on you and your desired outcomes. I wouldn't make a recommendation like that without knowing more about you, knowing more about your long-term goals, and knowing what your life situation is. Like if you have 7 kids, right, and you want to start a business right after college, yeah, cool, but you better be really good and really fast. And so there's the thing, and you know, one of the guys in my network, you know, of business owners, he did exactly that. In fact, he had kids while he was in college, and he realized very quickly, I suck at work, like working for other people, and I need to make money. So he started his business while he was in college, you know, and then kept it moving. Uh, Good Guys Gaming says, awesome insight, thanks. Benita Nichols says, good evening, Benita. So back to the story. Great questions, by the way, guys. And you can keep the questions coming. I'm going to go ahead and go into the story. If you write me a question, I'm not ignoring you. I'll just get to it after we get through because I want to give you all more time to ask questions. So I am somewhere in the middle of Iraq. I don't remember where. But I remember we were occupying this pretty large piece of land, our entire unit, not just my team, but the whole thousands of us that were there. And we had set up these checkpoints, right, to stop insurgents from being able to come into our safe zones and create problems, whether they were, setting off explosives. The problem that we were facing a lot at that time wasn't so much the IED epidemic as it was snipers, or people coming in and then being able to call in artillery on our positions, right? So I'm running a checkpoint, and it's basically nobody gets through without a check, right? So like if a car and I'm on a road with, you can't see it in the camera, but this giant looking mech vehicle with a giant, explosive tube pointing down a road, with a 50 caliber machine gun on the top, facing down this road. Like if you're coming at us, that should look scary, but you have to remember, when you're in some of these countries where they've been oppressed for so long, military might doesn't necessarily scare them the way it would if you saw a tank driving out in front of your house tonight. You'd probably be a little bit scared of that. Some of the people in these countries are so used to it. It was just like, oh, it's the tank guys, right? So you stop all vehicles far enough away so that they can't blow you up or create a threat. And then, you walk up to the vehicle, you do your checks. It's like, open your trunk, open your doors, right? It's, if you were in this combat zone, which you should have left, you knew we were coming, we got to check you, and we got to check for weapons. And some people get belligerent and fight with us. And it was like, unfortunately, we had to tell them, listen, the only way you're getting out of here alive is if you open this trunk, right? Or the only way you're getting out of here alive or not captured is if you open this trunk, right? So in the midst of that checkpoint, I was there with a small group of my team who was running this checkpoint. So I was there checking on them. And as we're standing there, we see this person off in the distance down the road. It's a very long straightaway on a moped coming toward us. Not extremely fast, but I've got now potentially an enemy combatant. He might have explosives on his vehicle. He may be carrying a weapon somewhere on his person, and he's just going to come up and either shoot us or try to blow us up. So we've got to get him stopped immediately. So from way out, now keep in mind, this whole story I'm telling you happens in the course of about 45 seconds, right? So I've got 45 seconds to make a really tough decision, which is, okay, the best option is get this guy to stop far enough away so that he's no longer a threat, right? And so his weapon's drawn, and we're hollering at this dude, stop, stop, stop. Not listening. I have interpreters with me, right? I yell stop in every language you think he speaks. All of them. And so they're screaming at this guy in every language, mostly Arabic, right, to stop. He won't stop. And so I've got a guy who I'm saying, keep your weapon trained on him, because if he even looks like he's going to set off an explosive, drop him. Right? He's like, yes, sir, no problem. So we're trained on this guy, and it's like, okay. I said, scream again, because now he's getting closer. He's getting closer. Now he's getting dangerously close to where we are. He's not stopping. My best option is now out the window. I have two options. Shoot this dude, right? And potentially save everyone from an evil person, or kill an innocent person. Or I just assume he doesn't mean us any harm and let him come up, and maybe he's a good guy just trying to get home to a war zone, which is automatically suspicious that you're driving around a war zone. And maybe he means us well, and he's a great guy, or he blows us all the hell up, and now we're all dead, right? Or one of us survives and has to explain to all our wives, and parents why we died, because the leader at the checkpoint made a stupid decision. So it's like, okay, I had 45 seconds, and now he's danger close, and I immediately give the order to my guy. I said, okay, take the shot but miss. He's like, sir, we're not supposed to shoot to miss. I said, I get the rules. I'm not killing an innocent. Fire one shot, miss, and see if he stops. He's like, roger, sir. So he picks up, he fires to miss. Bullet ricochets off the ground, and all we see is the guy buckle over and fall off his moped. And I'm like, crap. The bullet ricocheted and hit him. So because we're thinking this guy is now a threat. He is coming to kill us, right? So bullet ricochets, hits him in the stomach, knocks him off the bike. Which now I've neutralized the threat, but what if we just accidentally shot an innocent man? To this day, he didn't set off any explosives, but we checked his bike and everything. We don't know if he meant us harm. So what we did immediately, because he didn't die, the guy lived, right? Thankfully, if he didn't mean us harm, he's alive today, and hopefully uh, he'll accept my living amends, right, for making that call. And um, there's other hustle and bustle going on. So I have two of my guys. I'm like, go flag down a truck. We got to get this guy to a hospital. So I take my blanket and we stop the bleeding. We wrap this guy up in my blanket and we get him on the. We finally flag down a truck of people that we checked, and they're not combatants. They're safe. I said, get him to the and my interpreters would tell him, get him to the hospital. He's been shot. The guy lived. He was okay. He was cognizant. He was like, hey guys, sorry to bother you, right? Hey, sorry we shot you. But the point of the story is that day, did I save a bunch of men's lives, or did I potentially hurt a person that was innocent? The answer is we don't know. Sometimes in life, you are faced with decisions that are either bad or worse. Now, what I wish would have happened was the bullet would have missed him, because what we thought happened was the bullet missed him and he just jumped off the bike. Like, we thought, okay, we got him. He gets it now. But no, what we realized when we got up on him is that the bullet actually ricocheted and hit him. And it didn't hit him in any vital organs. He was fine, right? He would have lived. I'm sure he's going to live a very long, prosperous life, just with a little bit of stomach pain that day, right? Or really kind of side pain, because it didn't hit any vital organs or pierce anything terrible. Because it was a ricochet. It wasn't like the bullet went straight and hit him. It clipped him and grazed him. But the point is, sometimes in life, you're faced with a dilemma that has no good outcomes, right? Bad outcome. We potentially accidentally shot a guy that was innocent. We don't know that for a fact. He still could have very much meant us harm, and maybe we did neutralize the threat. Worse outcome. He has an explosive on his bike, or he's a spotter for a sniper who's looking at us. And the cue is, when I drive past, that's when you know to take the shot, because I got all these guys, because we're all behind cover until he comes out. If he's driving toward us as the kind of the bait for a sniper, we're all coming out to meet him. If there's a sniper that we don't have eyes on or good intelligence on, a sniper could have killed all of us in a matter of seconds, or at the very least created a really bad day. So the worst option is all my guys die. Sometimes you don't have an option between bad or worse. So what you have to be able to do in the moment, is make the best decision you have at your disposal by weighing the options. In 45 seconds, I had to weigh, potentially injure an innocent person. Hopefully don't kill him. We didn't, thank God. And we got him help for the grazing that we gave him. Or let this guy potentially kill all of us. As a leader, what decision would you make? Let all you guys, because by the way, the context of the story that you don't have is a bunch of our friends had been getting sniped for the weeks leading up to that point. You had guys getting killed out of nowhere, just snipers murking people, and it was like and guys sneaking weapons behind enemy lines and then giving them to insurgents who were then becoming enemy combatants who weren't in uniform. I've got friends that, a lady's walking, what looks like a lady in a burqa walking towards you is actually a kid underneath it carrying an AK who pops out and starts shooting. We had a woman jump out of a car in a burqa and start shooting at us. Right? All those things were happening before this day. So it's like, do I allow all of my men to become another casualty, and not just a casualty, dead? I had to decide. I couldn't live with all my men being blown up or sniped. So I made the decision. I actually broke the rules. I told him to miss, hoping that the guy would be scared enough to get off the freaking bike. But, do I feel good about what happened? Of course not. I don't. Well, if he was an enemy combatant, absolutely. Because in that world, I think a lot of what people don't understand about warfare in a place like that, you don't know who the enemy combatants are. No one's expecting a woman in a burqa to just jump out of a car while you're on a convoy and start bucking at you. And our guy that had to unfortunately neutralize her, he was shell-shocked from that. Because he had to kill a woman, and it was like, he couldn't talk, and I'm like, yo, it's gonna be fine. Like, you saved all our lives. Let's start there, because she was trying to kill us. Sometimes in life you are faced, and really the heart of this story is, I want you to know, sometimes there is no good solution, and what a lot of people do is you get paralyzed with fear, trying to find what is the good solution. Sometimes you don't have one and you just need to make a choice, stand by it, and take action. My football coach used to tell me, if you make a mistake, make an aggressive mistake. Meaning, if you go to hit somebody and miss a tackle, kill the guy behind him. Just make somebody feel something to let the other team know that we're not just going to take this beating. Right? So it's like, once you make a decision, commit to it, and then don't second guess yourself. I highly recommend. There's a video out there right now. I almost watched the whole thing last night because I couldn't stop watching. It was awesome. The Navy SEAL who trained Keanu Reeves for John Wick. It's a freaking awesome video of him showing Keanu Reeves how to clear a room. And it was a great refresher for me. I'm like, this is awesome. And one of the things he tells Keanu is, when you go in and you get kinetic, you commit to that action. He's like, once you get in a doorway, first of all, standing in the doorway is suicide, because that's where all the weapons are trained on, because it's the choke point that if there's someone in the room, they're watching that. If you've ever played Call of Duty, you know that if you're hiding in a room, you're waiting for someone to come in the door, right? He's like, once you commit to it, get in there, make a decision, and don't hesitate, because if you hesitate, you're going to get shot in the door. And that's really what he's saying. And he tells Keanu these exact words. Because Keanu was asking, well, when I go into this room, I have to go in alone. He's like, if you're clearing a room, someone just handed you what's called a shit sandwich, right? And that's what he said to Keanu. And he's like, well, the character I'm playing constantly is thrust in his shit sandwiches. He's like, well, then in that situation, you just have to go in and commit to a decision. He's like, you get in the doorway and get indecisive and start questioning your decisions, he's like, you're going to get shot. And it's a great video about, you're faced with this horrible situation of having to go into a room where you're most likely going to be shot or shot at. How do you actually handle it and survive? Right? So for you all, what I want to encourage you with is, sometimes it's okay that you're faced with a bad and a worse decision. Right? Maybe yours isn't as dire as my story. I'm using a very dire story to illustrate it, but maybe yours is, you have to make a decision that's going to make somebody, there's two people involved, and one of them is going to be angry based on what you decide. You just have to understand, somebody's going to be angry, and that's okay, as long as you come out alive and you don't completely destroy a relationship with this person, which if you do and your intent wasn't to hurt them, they're probably someone you don't need in your life anyway. Sometimes decisions are bad or worse, and what you have to do is not get paralyzed with fear, not get paralyzed with, well, and I watch, a lot of the places I've consulted, especially if you ever consult with like state or federal government, they are violently indecisive. And what it is the hierarchies that are there exist on reputations, and nobody wants to be the one that made the bad decision. So they have meetings and discussions about it for a year before they do anything, and they ask everybody's opinion. And it's like, Jesus Christ, guys, what is the outcome we want? Okay, does this solution get us there? Yeah, but it might piss some people off. Guess what? You three are about to be pissed off. We need this solution in order to do whatever. And military folks are much more trained to do that, because, our situations are a lot more dire. Like, if I piss you off, but I save your life, even on one of these calls, if I kind of hurt your feelings unintentionally, but it causes you to reflect and actually go out and do something about it, and I do that sometimes, like with my business partner. He and I train with him. We do PT together, and the easiest way to get him to give me his all is to punk him. Basically, this is the way we'll do it. We were doing pull-ups one day, and I noticed he got lazy, and I knew he had at least 6 more pull-ups in him, but he was tired and he was being lazy. I said, hey man, listen, I noticed you kind of quit early there. Look, if you're tired, for real, we could take a break. Like, you want to just go home, get some water? And I'm totally being an asshole to him, because I don't mean any of that. And he literally said these words. He's like, man, fuck you, man. And he gets back up on the pull-up bar. And I'm like, huh? Yeah, whatever it takes to get the best out of him. Now I wouldn't do that to a child, because he's a grown man. He got the point, right? But if I have to make you a little bit uncomfortable to get you, and sometimes when I'm coaching, I got to make people uncomfortable. I have to tell them things they don't want to hear, because that's my job, right? And so, like, when I'm consulting with a business, I had to tell a business last year, your product, there's no market for it, and the market you're targeting is a terrible market to sell anything to. From my own experience and from the market research that we did, and it was hard for me to say that, because I knew that the risk of telling that CEO that their baby was ugly was that I got that CEO fired me as their consultant. And I even said that in the meeting. I said, "Well, thanks for the time. I'm fired." And the CEO was like, "No, no, no, you are not fired. We're going to go back to the drawing board and figure this out. And we thank you because we had some hunches, and we're going to go figure this out. And we're going to need your help even more once we come back." And I was like, "Cool, right?" So sometimes I got to get you all to just realize, do not get paralyzed with indecision, hoping that a better decision is just going to come along when you're faced with a decision that you have to make. Also, for you young people, you guys, and by young, I mean you're like 18 to 25, right? You're so many of you that I talk to, it's like, I don't know what to do with my life. Of course you don't. You're 23 years old. You're not supposed to know what you want to do with your life, right? And it's like you get paralyzed with this indecision. I don't know if I should get this job or that job. Pick one. Like if one of them is not clearly better, they both look attractive. They both have pros and cons, but it maps out kind of mathematically that they're about the same. Pick one and then go do it. Because guess what? If it was the wrong choice, you're 25 years old. You can do it for 6 months or a year and go do something else. You're going to get so many opportunities. And I think that's what young people don't understand. And it's not your fault. Your parents are retarded. I know because my parents were retarded too, right? As much as I love them and they taught me everything, they were dumb about stuff. Or ignorant is a better way to say it. They just didn't know better, right? And your parents are pushing you got to have everything figured out. You don't. Go try something. If it doesn't work, you have 75 more years to get it right. And I tell this story a lot. My business mentor, when he retired from his business, I asked him, on our road trip, I said, "So what are you going to do next?" He's like, "Man, I don't know. I'm going to try some stuff." This dude is, how old is he? He's at least 70 something. And he's still figuring it out. Right? I have other mentors, people that have mentored me in business and helped my business. And I've talked about you guys to some of these people, and they're, not in their 70s, but they're like, I was like, I don't have it all figured out because I was encouraging my son because he was like, I don't know where I'm gonna go to college, and I was like, dude, you're 9, relax. And one of my mentors was like, they were like, I don't even know what I'm doing next. I'm still figuring it out. You're still figuring it out. Make a decision. And if it's a mistake, make it an aggressive mistake. And by aggressive, I mean get in there, do the best you can, realize you made a mistake, then get out. And guess what? That thing you're calling a mistake is really just learning. It's, oh, I hate accounting. And instead of being, oh, I just wasted a year of my life, say, dude, I just spent a year of my life getting an amazing education in accounting sucks. Now I know, and I had that experience when I was, working in the Fortune 500 world, when I tell you the story about how I was managing a part of a billionaire's business, running basically an arm of a billionaire's business as the chief operations guy. I wasn't a COO because I wasn't an executive, but that's essentially the role I was playing in this business, right? And so I just learned because accounting was my mentor was trying to prepare me for the next level, like becoming a VP and blah, blah, blah. And I had to learn accounting, and she spent a year trying to teach me. God love that woman for putting up with my crazy. But what I was learning was I can't do this. I can't be a glorified accountant. I'll shoot myself, and not kill myself, but I'll shoot myself like in the arm so I can go home. No, no way I'm doing this. Um, that was a great lesson to know. I never need to go into any field that's sitting behind a desk doing administrative or financial work. I don't have the brain or the patience for it. And it was a great learning experience, and I hear so many people think their life's over because they chose the wrong job. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're 24. You got at least 76 more years to figure this thing out. So don't be afraid of the bad or worse decision, because at no point in that story I told you was fear in the equation. All I was thinking was, my men are coming home alive. And if I got to shoot this cat because he's not, like, I gave you like 90 chances to stop the dang bike in your language, and you're being belligerent, which is telling me either you're just saying F me because you don't care, or you mean me harm. Fire, right? And maybe that guy did mean us harm and we neutralized the threat, right? And it's at no point was like, I don't know what to do. It was, do it. because we got 45 seconds. I don't have time. And I did it knowing that this may be the wrong call. Doesn't matter. The wronger call is letting all my men die in front of me. Period. Right? And that's the reality of warfare that you don't see in movies and TV, right? You see these Hollywood, I tell people all the time to watch Generation Kill on HBO because that's a fairly realistic depiction of what it's actually like. I mean, it's still a show, right? It's still entertainment, but there's a good amount of stuff in there that's like, oh, I went through that. I remember. In fact, me and my guys are in that show. Not me physically, but a representation of me and my team uh, is in that movie or in that series. But the point is, guys, do not get paralyzed with fear when you have to make a decision. Make the best decision you can with the information you have, and just know that the consequences may not be the best thing in the world, but as long as you didn't pick the worst thing, and if two decisions look equal and you have to make a decision, eeny, meeny, miny, moe that thing and keep it moving. Because if you're wrong, good. You just got a good learning experience. And I'll give you another one of those where I was wrong. In training for combat, I was brand new as a what's called a platoon leader. So you're in charge of, anywhere from, depending on the type of unit you're in, 30 to 70 to 100 guys, right? And so, depending on the platoon, my platoon was not 100, but I was new at it, and we had a situation where going through our paces to fire our weapons, everyone didn't get to shoot at the target, and so during the training exercise they call check fire, which means stop shooting, and I still have rounds in the chamber on this giant mech that's shooting bombs basically downfield, and I don't know what to do. But I have a fairly new, what's called non-commissioned officer, NCO, that's advising me. But he didn't really know what to do, right? But he gave me advice that says we have to do what's called punching the tube, which is you get a big plunger and you knock this giant bullet out of the cannon, which destroys the bullet. And cost you $1,000, which I found out when the colonel came to my location to explain to me why we don't do that, right? And he was cool about it. Like, he was angry. Clearly, he pulled up. He's like, "All right, let me school you, young buck, because you clearly don't know anything. Um, don't ever do that again. You just cost me $1,000 because now I cannot fire that round. I got to basically turn it in to be demoed." He's like, "You made a decision. Good job on being decisive. You made the wrong decision. You should have called us up top and asked for more guidance instead of listening to this guy over here that didn't know what to do." Um, and so I made the wrong decision. But it was a great learn. Do you think I'd ever make that decision again? Of course not. It was a great learning experience. So don't worry so much about being perfect or getting everything right. I say this on every call. We do not demand perfection. I don't demand perfection from my team, from my family. All I request is that you do your best and you get better every time. Make a little bit of progress, right? Every time. So, and that's what any good leader will do that with you. Jack Welch talks about when an employee, and he used to be the CEO of GE, if you're not familiar, which, by the way, my trivia question: what companies are still in existence from the original stock market? GE is the only company still in existence, right? And Jack Welch used to say, you never pile on. When an employee makes a mistake, you go help them. Now, you educate them, but you don't need to punish them or make it harder on them because they were wrong. Half the lesson was now they're scared that the CEO's got to come down here. When I heard the colonel was on his way to my camp, I'm like, well, that ain't good. The colonel doesn't just come hang out, right? If he's on his way to see me, it isn't for good reasons. If the colonel's coming to see you, it's not to pat you on the back, right? So those are the things I want to really impress upon you. Let's take some comments and questions here, and we will. I'll add to anything I need to add to. Terrence Dearman says, when YouTube was letting everyone monetize, that reduced the CPM for all the ads as a whole because it was spread out too thin. All the bigger creators were complaining about the reduced money, and let's see, where did he finish that thought? Started jumping ship. Yeah, and I've been telling people, I mean, Terrence has been with me in my coaching programs for years, and I started telling people 3 or 4 years ago, stop trying to make money monetizing videos on YouTube. It's a fool's errand. You're not going to make enough money long term. And by the way, that's all advertising. Advertising has been on a steady decline since the 1970s. Let me make that clear to you. What happens is, since the 1970s, we have more ads than we ever have in life, and those ads are worth far less than they used to be, right? So, of course, basing your whole business plan or your freelance plan on, I'm just going to make money on YouTube ads, that's insanity. Because even Google, I read back in 2015, I read Google's financial reporting from 2014 on a coaching call, not too dissimilar from this, where I said Google even outlined the fact that they were vulnerable because their primary source of income was advertising. Not a good look. So if Google's worried about it, then creators should be worried about it, and you should be looking for other avenues to make money. Benita Nichols says, I've been called to holistic healing ministry. I'm working on my book on the power of prayer in my transformation. Awesome. I can't wait to see your book when you finish it. Do you have a timeline and a publisher, or are you self-publishing? Ricardo Nichols says, good evening. Alyssa says, I can only imagine the craziness over there with the cultural difference and the fact that that area of the world has been known for war after war. You're not the only one I know who served overseas. I imagine. The Patriot says, who was the group shooting at you? ISIS, Taliban, or did you not know? Well, so I was part of I go way back to before ISIS was a thing. So it certainly wasn't ISIS. I mean, a lot of the guys that were fighting us became ISIS, for sure. Let's see. YouTube filtered out Terrence's joke because he said F you. That's hilarious, man. Alyssa says, love is blind, but it doesn't have to be. Amen to that, sister. Benita says, I've started getting requests to speak at various conferences from Nashville to Los Angeles. Let's speak Monday after 12 noon CST. Are you talking, you want to speak with me Monday? Shadavia says, hello, things happen for a reason. This live stream on tough decisions happening when I have a tough decision to make myself. I've been thinking all day about quitting my job to pursue starting a business. There you go. Right? And then, quit job, start business, stay in job, don't start business. And, you have a third option, which is start business while in job, side hustle for a while. There's a lot of different ways you can approach that. But when you find the right answer, rock on. GP says, LOL, I'm in school for accounting and hate it, but don't have any other ideas. So, what's the best way to get more ideas? Be around smart people that have a lot of ideas. Being on this call, good start. There's a lot of smart people here. And then Alyssa says, if you hate it, get out. You don't need a perfect plan, just a better one. Alyssa always says everything better than I do, which I feel like I'm just going to start letting her lead these calls. And I'm only half joking. Like she finds ways to say it so perfectly that it takes me so many words to spit it out, which is weird because I am a very to the point speaker, except in these arenas where I'm answering tough questions. Medi says, I'm 22 years old. You're so right. Really confused trying to be financially independent, career, thinking about marriage, fighting bad habits. Yeah, I mean, dude, you're 22. Go do stuff. I mean, that's my advice. You know, it's funny. You know who else gives that advice? Is freaking Plato. Said that until a child is 10, they shouldn't be doing any type of like formal schooling. It should all be wrestling, physical activity, especially men, right? Because men learn through touch and learn through struggle. We learn spatial recognition, we learn strength, we learn social constructs, and then but my point there is, you're 22, you don't know jack about what it's really going to be like out there once you get out there. You don't know how you are going to react, so you need to get out there and start trying things. My recommendation is try things you like at least. Uh, Nubify says, are you familiar with Cal Newport's view on purpose? Yes. Becoming an expert at something and deriving a purpose from it as opposed to having innate purpose. Yeah, it's so good. So good they can't ignore you is the book he has it in. I actually did a video on that book probably a little over a year ago. I assume you should enjoy the thing you are doing. The process of becoming an expert isn't always fun. I think he objects to purpose being treated like soulmate. So, where I think the nuance of what he's talking about, we can't go against our genetics, right? Me becoming an expert in accounting is a really bad idea because I'm just not genetically, my personality is not wired. Like, even if I was amazing at accounting, I'm not going to like it, right? It's just, there's, we also have to have a certain amount of self awareness, and our affinities betray a reality. And this is probably what you should, because in order to become an expert at something, you have to be obsessed with it, right? So this idea that you're just going to go do something you hate until you get amazing at it, and then all of a sudden you're going to love it. I don't think that's. I think that's the way Cal is taken, but I don't think that's what he meant. I haven't done much more than read his book, so I don't know him. Even though he's a local dude, maybe I should have him on the show. Um, it's one of those things where if you don't at least have some affinity for what you're doing, I don't think you'll have the curiosity and the stamina to put in the amount of work necessary to become an expert. Like if you look at Steve Jobs, right? He wasn't passionate about computers. He was passionate about design. All he did was apply design to computers. He was still doing what he loved. It just happened to be in the world of technology. And then he developed a love for technology. And I think that's what Cal is getting at, is there's this marriage between what you're good at, and usually things you're really good at are things you like. I'm not good at anything I hate, right? Not at least not. I'm okay at cooking. I hate cooking. I don't want to become an expert at that. Like I don't want to go to culinary school. I'm not gonna love cooking because I think it's tedious, right? Like task list based work is freaking tedious as hell to me, right? So I think there's kind of a happy medium of this what Cal was attacking was just go live your passion. And what I argue is you don't know what your passion is yet because you haven't spent enough time doing anything. I thought I was passionate about skateboarding. I literally thought I was going to be the next Tony Hawk until I watched a friend of mine, I think I was 12 years old, do a kick flip. I was like, yep, never doing that. Let's go ahead and sell these skateboards, right? So you can have an idea that you love something, but not really flesh it out. And I think Cal is arguing that just because you think you love something, I loved football. Was I good enough to play pro? Mm, I would have been very mediocre if I was, right? And I have professional football friends in professional football that kind of walk me through the very similar lifestyle to being like a combatant soldier. He's like, well, dude, that was you played in the Super Bowl of getting shot at. Like, it's not much. He's like, you would have if you knew the techniques, you could have played football professionally. You just didn't have the training or the experience because you didn't play long enough and you didn't have you didn't play at the next level when you left high school and stuff like that. So you didn't have enough coaching. Like, but as far as the physical skill set, yeah, could have done it. You have the mindset for it. You just didn't have the critical path. But the point is, I learned later in life when I started trying to play football again. I don't really love this as much as I thought, and I don't miss it. I think I'm gonna go back to helping people develop their lives. Right, Terrence says, "Wait, you missed the joke about snapping off little kids to motivate them." No, I got it. The YouTube edited it out. Let's see. Thanks for the compliment, Brian. Hey, it's not a compliment. It's just the truth. See, why did YouTube filter out Larry Adams' comment? Highly recommended assessments online like 16personalities.com give you great ideas for career choices. So I don't necessarily disagree with that. I just would be careful. Right? If you take the 16 personalities test and you're under the age of 25, remember you're still developing. Um, Myers-Briggs is the test that um, the 16 personalities is using Myers-Briggs, which is a very faulty test. So I'm very leery of telling people, oh, you're an INFP, you should go do this, right? I think there's some strong correlations, for example, to INFPs being driven more to arts and creative type work, but it's not true. I've met INFPs that are accountants and love it. So I'm okay with you doing those assessments. Just take it with a grain of salt because Myers-Briggs is a pretty flawed personality test. I have everybody take the Hexaco test. Hexaco is not necessarily going to help you. Oh, this is the career I need to do, but it's going to help you find a lot more insight about yourself. For example, in the C in Hexaco, Hexaco, the C is conscientiousness. If you score extremely low on conscientiousness, there's a couple things I know are true. One, you need to fix that because genetically you may be predisposed to being low, but you need to make some life choices to develop those disciplines. Two, you probably shouldn't be in the military, right? And three, you're probably not attracted to military or law enforcement service because you're not highly conscientious, right? Highly conscientious people are drawn to that type of work, right? So there are things that I can assess, in something like that. But if you score extremely high in conscientiousness, well, then the sky's the limit. I mean, there's be a professional basketball player, right? Because you're going to have that attention discipline. Um, but yeah, I'm not against taking the 16 personalities. I've actually recommended people take it. Just take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it as the end all be all. And guys, the best way to figure out what you should be doing in life if you're 22 is start doing things in life, especially those of you that are talking about starting a business. Because I think what a lot of you are going to learn is you're growing up, you younger folks are growing up in an era where starting a business is a cool thing. Not cool when I told my parents at 17 that I'm gonna start my own business. They laughed. Um, because it's the cool thing now. Everybody thinks that's what they're supposed to be doing. Um, let's see. If you don't like getting punched in the mouth regularly, starting a business may not be your thing. But if you come just a level below, kind of in your soul of what's it called? If you come just a level below this idea of starting a business to the why, that kind of core in your spirit and your soul, why you want to do it, and you start to think through, okay, um, the real reason why I want to start a business is because I want two things: financial security and freedom to do the things that I love. Well, you don't necessarily have to start a business to do that because if you're starting a business, you are signing up to build something that's bigger than you and can run without you. And if you don't have the skill set in actually running operations and developing teams that can then carry on the work, then starting a business may not really be what you're talking about. What you're talking about maybe being a freelancer, right? Like if you're a person, let's say you are a person who loves doing YouTube videos, for example. I consider most YouTubers freelancers, right? Now, some of them build businesses around it and then hire teams. That's different. But a YouTuber is a creative freelancer, right? It's not that because you're making money doesn't necessarily mean you've built a business per se. Um, and you could be both. Like I'm both. I am a freelancer and an entrepreneur. I fluctuate between the two. Um, a lot of times as an entrepreneur, I don't have patience for a lot of things, so I'll retreat to that kind of freelancer mode. But then, there's also the part of me that's can't stand inefficiency. And when I know allowing a team to do something that they're better at than I am, and I can bring them on board to do it, that's more entrepreneurial. So the point there is thinking through, um, just thinking through the process and keeping an open mind and not taking an assessment that says, oh, you should be a doctor, and then assuming that's what you need to be. And I said all that to say, if you think starting a business is what you're supposed to be doing, um, you should go start a business because then you're going to find out very quickly when you're met with a lot of opposition and rejection in the early stages. Do you have that intestinal fortitude to keep going when that rejection hurts? Right? And if you're the type of person that takes rejection very personally, running a business can be hard because you're going to get a lot. It's like playing baseball. If you think about it, the best hitters in baseball only succeed 30% of the time. Business is very similar, right? Except it's 2% of the time instead of 30. 2% of the people that follow you, like 2% of you on this call, will probably join my coaching program, right? That's the way it works, right? A larger percent of you will express interest. I have a lot of people in my inbox right now. Yo, yeah, let's do this. And I told you guys at the beginning that you're decisive and you are the type of people that when you see opportunity, you take advantage of it and you don't drag your feet, even though it may cost you something. Um, and I'll get a ton of people in my inbox. They're fired up, but then when it's time to do business, it slows down. But that's business. Everybody's fired up until they have to have skin in the game. Right? It's real easy to come on a YouTube call that you don't have to pay for. Um, but I've noticed that when people have to pay for something, myself included, I respect it a lot more, right? That's why like a lot of the coaching that's online, there are places you can find it for free. There's people that have uploaded it and you can download all it. I don't do it because I know if I pay for these courses, unless it's a friend that's giving me, I have friends that have courses that let me in their courses. But anything else, I pay for the course. Even courses, I've spent thousands of dollars on courses and seminars because I know if my money's getting spent on this thing, I'm going through these classes because only 30% of people actually finish a course, right? And a decent percentage don't even start. I got a guy in one of my programs right now who, and I never name his name because I don't want to embarrass him because I'm not trying to criticize him, but he doesn't watch the videos. I'm like, what are you doing here? You're not using what you paid for. But it's also because he got in really early. He paid a ridiculously low fee. It's just like, I'll get to it when I get to it. But I guarantee you, if I had charged him $2,000, like a lot of my customers paid in the latter stages of some of my coaching programs, he'd have showed up every week because he's like, I'm getting my money out of this, right? Another kind of pro tip as you're building your business. Um, Nubify says, yeah, Cal does say that there is a balance you need to find. I've listened to him on Art of Manliness and Jordan Harbinger. I definitely like to see him on. Yeah, I'd love to have him on the show. I'll probably hit him up next year once we're really rolling, and I've built a stronger, recognized brand for myself. So someone like that has an incentive to come on the show. Like he's going to get exposure and stuff like I can guarantee. Listen, 100,000 people are going to listen to this podcast, or this many people are going to watch it on Twitch, or 18 people are going to watch the YouTube upload of it. Because no one wants to watch a 4-hour video unless it's Joe Rogan, which hats off to that dude. I love watching this stuff. All right. Kira says, hello, Brian and everyone. Good evening. Alyssa says, recommend both MBTI and Hexaco. With MBTI, know cognitive functions and the strengths and weaknesses, so you know where to start working on yourself, but don't let it define you. Well said. Kaya says, oh, she's talking to Kira. Alyssa says another 2% is already in the coaching program. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's that the 2% thing is that's just it's the law of what I call, and I've taught on this before. It's the law of 2.5%, right? 25,000 people, 26,000 people subscribe to this YouTube channel because they got something good out of something. Anywhere from 2, and usually my numbers are higher, right? I do better than 2%, for example. A much larger percentage. In everything I've ever created online, my percentages have always been higher, and it's not on accident. It's because I'm very engaged. Like I'm a part of the process. Like people don't sign up for something and then a bot takes care of it. Like it's me, right? So I drive that engagement higher, or it's a member of my team. But it's, you know, um, it's just the nature of the game. Like I tell people in consulting, if you want 100 clients, you better reach out to 4,000 people. Because that's the math, right? Out of 25,000 people, several hundred have gone through one form of one of my coaching programs, right? And some people have gone through, that's another pro tip, is once you have a customer, that is the person who's most likely to buy from you again, right? So never neglect your existing customers trying to go out and get new ones, because that one that bought from you, that one that paid $2,000 to get into a program is going to buy something else when you make it because they see value in what you do. And so even though we do greater than 2%, that's kind of the rule of thumb. Yeah, we've had hundreds of people go through, which ain't bad with only 25,000 followers and only 1,200. And that's where it really gets interesting. Only about 1,200 people watch my stuff with any regularity because I'm not making the videos that most of those 25,000 people signed up for, right? So, about 100, anywhere from 118 to 150 people will come on this stream tonight. Like you're looking at it now. If you guys can see it, there's 21 of you here now, but some of you will leave and then other people will come on, and that's how it ebbs and flows. When it's all said and done, it's usually anywhere from 100 to 150, sometimes 200 people will have come on the stream. It's pretty dang good numbers for only 1,200 of my audience being engaged, right, out of the 26,000. Because there's tons of thousands of people who haven't watched another video, mostly because YouTube hasn't showed it to them, and they're not like a consumer of my content. They just got something good out of it and did me a solid. Hey man, subscribe. They're not coming back. Like I have channels, the stuff that I actually do watch, I go to the channel. I'm not looking at my feed. What did entertain me? No, I'm going to your channel because I know what I'm looking for. Joe Rogan or Neil deGrasse Tyson or Tony Robbins or the 98 channels that upload Tony Robbins stuff because it's not him. It's like I know where I'm going to look for that. Or like when I consume ministry content, there's a handful of ministers that I watch with some regularity. And one of them I don't watch on YouTube because he has his own app. And he's a mentor of mine. But, it's I'm going to the channel. And there's a number of you who are, if I do something, you're coming to check it out. Which, by the way, quick little advertisement plug here if you have not done this already. Shouts out to Young IGG because he did do it. I see you, homeboy. Thank you. You need to, if you're here, all 20 of you watching this right now, if you have not done this already, need to leave the show. Leave it. Click on the twitch.tv link I just put in the comment section and follow me. If you don't have a Twitch account, take the 30 seconds it makes to create one. You don't have to fill out a profile or add a picture. Just do it and then go follow my channel and make sure you sign up for the email notifications. Here's why. These shows that you guys are getting a ton of value out of are going to Twitch and my podcast. I'm only doing these YouTube lives for the 1,200 of you that actually check me out with any regularity, so you know we're going to Twitch. That is where we are going. These live streams are going to come to an end because Twitch gives me a much better platform to serve you all on. For one, it's easier to stream. Two, you're actually going to get notified when I stream, regardless of some stupid algorithm. Like it's actually going to send you an email, hey, Brian's streaming, and I write you a message that says, hey, here's what we're talking about. So you know exactly what we're streaming about, and then you can make a decision. I don't want to watch him play a video game. Oh, but he's talking about how to make money in a business within the first 6 months. Or how did he build a business that was profitable within the first year? And then the whole version of that story is he built a business that was profitable in the first year and then got yelled at by his accountant because he wasn't supposed to be profitable in his first year because he didn't know anything about business. That was back in 2004. When I first started my business, my first year in business, I made $50. And what I mean by that is that, a company makes money, but it also loses money on capital expenses and just the cost of doing business. When you averaged both of those out at the end of the year, the business made a profit on top of paying me and all the other stuff. The business made a profit of $50. And I went into my accountant. This is my first year in business. I'm like, yo, profit, homeboy, check my numbers. Bow, I gave him my profit and loss statement. And he's like, dude, you're an idiot. I was like, why? He's like, IRS gives you 5 years to take an L. And then even after 5 years, you can request a waiver. Like, why didn't you buy up equipment and all the things you need for your business, take a loss? And he's like, and then by the way, homeboy, because you're running it as a sole proprietorship, that loss, stuff that you would have bought for your house anyway, that loss would have come off your total taxable income and the IRS would have cut you a check. Things you learn in business. My specific example, I'm not telling you guys to go out there and do that because everyone's, I am not qualified to give tax advice. I think I legally have to say that. But the point is, you live and you learn, right? And it's going out there and learning those lessons. First year in business, but I can teach you. How did I actually make a profit? How did I get my first contracts? Right? My first contract was horrible. How do you not have a first horrible contract? It was a great learning experience on what I said at the beginning of the stream, which is stop undercharging. I did $10,000 worth of work. You want to know how much I made on that contract? $300. First contract. Now, second contract was $4,000, but I also underpriced because I did about $15,000 to $20,000 worth of work. I didn't know how to price myself. Those are things you learn after being in business for 15 years, right? So, anyway. But yes, definitely get over to Twitch and follow. Make your account. Get her done. Alyssa says, I can't wait for you to start on your podcast again. I listened to all your previous ones via Google. Awesome. And I'm glad they're on Google because someone was telling me they weren't there. And I'm like, they should be. Or are you listening to the ones that Steven uploaded into the private Google group? Because they should be on the Google Play Store the way I've been doing it, but they will be in the future if they're not now. Kira says, "Love Neil deGrasse Tyson." I do too, man. Awesome, awesome dude. I listened to 6 hours of him talking with Joe Rogan and was just like, well, I was doing work, or I think at one point I was playing a video game while I was listening to him. It was on my doctor ordered downtime. I was like, but I'm gonna get smart during my downtime. I'm gonna learn. Oh man, let's see. Yeah, I can't wait to get the podcast. We have about 70 podcasts done. We're just waiting to launch until I can start filming again so that we don't run out. So that everybody has, and kind of pro tip for if you're going to launch a podcast on iTunes, have regular content in the beginning because then it's much easier to get featured and get seen than if you just upload one and then wait a month to upload another one. Reading Dave says, "How do you choose how much exercise you do? I have trouble gauging how much to do and either do way too little or way too much." Well, one easy way to do it is to hire a trainer who can, and hire a good trainer who can learn about you, learn about your, first of all, your goals need to be the first part of that, right? Like your goal is going to determine the types of workouts that you're doing and how much you're doing and what the intensity level is. He's going to factor in your age, your goals, your diet, which any good trainer, if they don't tell you this, fire them. I can't help you outrun a bad diet. Not going to happen, right? You know, work with a trainer. I mean, guys, the solution to so many of your problems is hire somebody to help you. And if you don't have the money to hire somebody, go hustle on the side and get the money to bring people into your life who can help you. Right? Like I've been doing public speaking for God knows how long, and I was still hiring a public speaking coach. I coach people, and I still have coaches. Like I pay people to help me get better. Right? And you may not have thousands and thousands of dollars to pay people like I've done over the years. Fine. Start with where you are. In fact, I have a coaching program that's 70% off right now. That's not thousands and thousands of dollars. In fact, when we're done with it, it's going up 70%. Oh, and by the way, many of you have been asking how much the coach, because it's not on the website, I need to put it on there, how much it costs. It is $197. Um, that's the sale price. It's going up 70% once we finish it, and we're going to finish it fast. If you don't want to pay $600 for it, or I think the way we came up with the price, because there was a method to the madness, was you look at like a, if you were in group therapy, right? For example, that's going to be 75 hours. It's going to cost you about $1,400 for 75 hours out of pocket, right? So, and that's if you have insurance. If you don't have insurance, it's like $300 a session or whatever. So it's like, okay, for 75 hours, $1,350, $1,400, whatever. Um, our stuff's like 150 hours, but we'll cut it in half and round down to the lowest 100, because that way it's a deal, right? It's cheaper than you going and paying for it on the market, which makes us more competitive. Right now, it's 70% off as a thank you to those of you who are, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, because I'm not sharing my screen with you tonight. I'll post a link so you can see what's happening. Start where you are. And I know I'm saying this to Dave, who's in my coaching program. So I know, Dave, you could disregard. Um, but for everybody else, yeah, that's the thing. Like, hire a trainer. It's not that expensive. And if you need to hustle on the side to make a little extra cash for your health, is your health not worth hustling? Get out there and make it happen. All right. Young IGG says it's IGG, like Iggy Azalea, but without the Y. Okay, Ig. So why do you put periods in there if you want people to say Ig, I wonder? Uh, Reading Dave, Tyson and Rogan sound like a great conversation. Yeah, in fact, he had one with Mike Tyson too that was real good. Alyssa says so many gyms now a free training offer free training sessions. Yeah, and the memberships are like $10 a month. It's insanity. In fact, I was just consulting a gym not too long ago on how to do some different things with their marketing, because they're trying to get their franchise to be the premier in the world. And I was walking them through, okay, that's here we go, here's what we need to do. um Alyssa says some memberships are, yeah, so Alyssa says the same thing. Okay, so I'm not crazy. Xavier Bryan says, do we pay one time for the program or monthly? So people who are joining now pay one time, right? Because the people who are joining now aren't going to get the access to me doing the live coaching, like the live, we're on a call talking to each other. So we lowered the price and made it a one-time fee. It's been different for different people, right? The program's gone through, and I highly recommend when you launch, because it's a relatively new program. It's only been around for a couple of years, and it's evolved. When we started, it was just a monthly fee. And then people complained and said, hey, can we just pay you? I said, okay, here's how much it should cost for a one time fee. And then as the program grew, because it was really just supposed to be 10 videos, and it was, whatever it was a month until we finished the videos. And then I started doing the live coaching, the small group live talking to people coaching, and then that became the monthly fee, and then the regular coaching had a one time fee. But for you, people joining the program now that we're finished basically with the one on one coaching, minus the last couple of sessions that the existing students are going through, that's a one time fee. But we made the price stupid low to say, hey, those of you who've been complaining that you don't have money and you need to move forward, and my life is like, I'm like, all right, there's no excuse now because I've made this cheaper than your freaking Starbucks bill or Chick-fil-A bill every month. So don't drink Starbucks for a month and get in here so we can help you. And if you don't, then it's going to go back up to the regular price. And then I don't want to hear any whining. And because I had a guy, because at one point the program, when I thought we were going to keep doing it before, I got out of the, pulled myself, for health reasons and other stuff out of the live coaching piece, it was $2,000 one time fee. And I had a guy that joined. He's like, dude, I should have freaking joined when you first started. I've known you this whole time. It's like, yeah, man, you got to do that. And I think I ended up giving him a discount, but it certainly was not as cheap as it was to start. All right. Reading Dave says, yeah, I got to find a hustle to do. Yeah, do it, man. Shadavia says, cool. Let me see something real quick. All right, that's cool. What else we got? Reading Dave says 200 is about where Fred Pryor seminars and master classes are asking for these days. Cool. Ursula says, hi, B. Totally digging the new program. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Glad to hear that. Young Ig says, it's an acronym I came up with years ago and just ran with it. It stands for I'm God's gift, not meaning I think I'm God's gift, God's only gift, but I believe everyone is in their own. I agree with that, man. All right, Young Ig. Got it. Noted for future reference. All right, let me check my email. All right, Third Maze followed me on Twitch. Where the rest of y'all at? Uh-oh. Now my computer just locked up. I don't know if you guys can still see me because I can't see the screen. It does this from time to time and then it'll unlock. So I'll just entertain you all with awkward staring into the camera. But if it's frozen and you can hear me and I can't get it to act right, don't worry. I will restart and be right back on with you. In fact, one real easy way to test that, I can go on my phone. Yeah, my computer sucks. Let's just go ahead and call a spade a spade. All right, this says, survey says that it looks frozen because I don't think I could stand that still for that long. Let's see if it unfroze. Nope. Kira says she can see me. Worry not, friends. Soon and very soon. Okay. Alyssa says yes. All right. I'll be right back. Everybody hold tight. This computer sucks. All right, let's get right back to business. Apologies, friends, for the buffering. I'm actually not convinced that this is on my end. I think I've been having some issues with YouTube as well, which is um, another reason why I'm moving stuff over to Twitch. Because even though my computer will crash at times because my computer sucks, and my laptop just can't handle the load. But because otherwise I just stream on my laptop. But one of the other reasons I'm moving to Twitch is I only get the freezing crap, like, because this happens if I'm just watching like a teaching video on YouTube, and then I go to check my email, and then my computer just stops. Eventually, it comes back on, but it only seems to be correlated with YouTube. But enough about that. Shouts out to Third Maze and Young Ig for the follows on the mighty land of Twitch. That's good. Everybody else needs to follow suit. I mean, you don't have to, but I highly recommend it. All right. You know what? I did not know Older Ander was Dave. I'm glad he said that because a lot of you are on there. Like Alyssa's there. It took me a day. I was like, holy crap, there's Alyssa. I've been talking to her like a dude. I thought it was a dude. Like, wait a minute, that's not a dude. All right, so yeah, if you guys feel free to let me know it's you, because a lot of times people use, like, even people that join my coaching program will use whatever their little cool freaking Google mail name is. I'm like, I prefer not to send you an invoice with that on it. I mean, if that's what you want, it's fine. Prefer to use your name, and I'd prefer to talk to people using their name, not their, you know, Super Dragon Hunter 17 or what. I don't want to title an email like that. It just, uh, I do it though. Alyssa says I'm just that cool. You are that cool. Believe it or not, I think you are cooler than you realize. Ursula says I got on your Twitch, dog. Who are you on Twitch? Which are you, Ursula? Let me see if I can pick out which name is yours. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know which one's Ursula. I see my son on here. He needs to get a new icon. I don't know what that's about. All right, guys. I've pretty much said my piece. Like I said, I didn't want to ramble too long about my story that I was telling you. I'm going to keep my phone here just in case things lock up again, so I can chat with you while we're doing our thing. Um, that said, um, feel free to get your questions in. Hold on. Like the frame. Oh no, we're good. The frame is just being silly. So yeah, go ahead and submit your questions, um, and I will answer them. And while I'm waiting, I'm gonna check to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, you know what? Did I send the freaking Facebook message? I was streaming. Okay, yes I did. Last time I just left it there and forgot to send it. All right, only 2 people from my Facebook. But you know what? A lot of international people follow me too, so it's probably like 4 o'clock in the morning for some of these folks. Here we go with this crap. Actually, I think Facebook might be part of the problem with my computer too. Okay, so no updates there. I had like one of my first pieces of content I think ever on Twitter blow up this week, and it was such a not very like I say some real profound ish on Twitter, and nobody cares. But apparently, this one struck a nerve. Um, I'm still getting retweets and likes. Very interesting, and it's funny. Like when we create content, for those of you who are content creators and freelancers, pay very close attention to what happens when you post content, like how people react to it. Because I've found, and I have, I coach my team too, right? That's kind of part of the added benefit of being on my team is that I spend a lot of time with them, just coaching them alone, away from any coaching groups. Um, one of the things I taught them that I'll share with all of you who are YouTubers and creative types is that you have what I have. called um, the. Hold up. Did this crap freeze up again? Refresh my page. All right. Let us hope that the third time is indeed the charm. So I'm going to jump in here and respond to Alyssa's question, which is I'm not on Twitter. Never liked it. What did you say? I will read you what I said here shortly, as soon as I know the stream is working. All right, this says I'm streaming, but it looks frozen on my end. All right, looks like we're back in the mix here. And I always forget that it's 30 seconds behind. So Alyssa says, I'm not on Twitter, never liked it, neither do I. What did you say? Let's read what I said here. Wasn't really that. So I said, creators, people leaving random negative comments about you on your channels is not about you. Your content triggers their insecurities. And if they struggle with something like mental illness, they're going to make shitty comments. Pity them, ban them, and then keep it moving. And then, a couple people took it out of context. They mean, oh, you're a coward if you're censoring people. I'm like, okay. Yeah, not talking about censoring anybody. Um, it's actually, that's not exactly what they said. They said it's cowardly to censor people. They didn't call me a coward. But it was very much the context here is I run live streams, and from time to time, I get people who say things in the group that are violently disruptive. I'm not offended by it. Like if someone says, "Oh, you're ugly," or "You were," pick a thing. I think you suck. A guy called me a douchebag. Like if you call me a douchebag in the middle of a stream, you have psychological problems, right? Like normal people, like even a person who doesn't like me, who's not troubled is not going to come find me on a stream and say some silliness like that and then disrupt the stream because now I got to deal with this person, right? I got to get in there. Usually YouTube's going to filter the comment out. At no point is this person ever going to add any value to our discussion. So you just ban them. It's like you're never going to have anything to say that's good. And frankly, even if you would eventually have something to say that's good, fine, create another account and then do it that way, right? But I think a lot of what I was saying there too is the context that's missing is because I'm talking on Twitter. I only have so much to say. Is I get a lot of people who are clearly either psychopathic or schizophrenic, and they're writing these horrible things that are. This is never going to not be a distraction. Not that they said, "Oh, your video sucks." Like I think people thought I meant I'm going to ban somebody for saying my video sucks, which is childish. I don't even pay attention to that. But some of the things that people will come on a stream and say about my audience or about me, it's one of those things where as a person who's struggled with mental illness, I can pick it out. Like this person clearly, if I test them on the dark triad, it is not going to go well. Narcissism is going to be off the charts because most people that have a problem with you will pull you to the side if they're not a violent narcissist who wants attention, right? I get people who are extremely manipulative or in some cases just straight up psychopathic, and it's never going to be a good conversation. So it's just better off to just cut it off, right? Just say, hey, we don't need to have this relationship. Right? If you want to contribute in a way that's valuable to the conversation, then by all means, you can find me somewhere else and do that. So it wasn't a big deal. It was just basically get in the habit of knowing when to ban people. And some people took it to mean, I meant any negative comment ever, like, oh, I think you suck at this game or whatever the thing is. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Let's see. There you are. Welcome back, Brian. There I am. Thank you. Let's see. Young Ig says, "Do you think Twitch will replace YouTube one day because of YouTube demonetization issues, or do you think content creators will move?" No and no. YouTube is fine, guys. The people screaming about demonetization and blah blah blah. This is a very, oh, for the love of Christ. All right, so I froze again, but can you guys at least hear me? Because I'm not going to keep resetting the computer. Kira, let me know if you can actually hear what I'm saying. Okay, good. You can hear me. Screw the video feed. Um, I'll just keep talking. So the answer is no to those questions. YouTube is fine. The folks screaming about demonetization are folks that put all their eggs in one basket and thought that that was going to be okay, right? It's just not. You know, it was. I've been saying for years that it's silly to think you're going to come on YouTube and make all this money from ads. It's ridiculous, right? And you know, Terrence said a little while back that the more creators making money, the less the ads are worth, right? So no, I don't think the issue is Twitch. Twitch is not going to replace YouTube because it's not YouTube, right? It doesn't do what YouTube does. And YouTube is so ingrained in the lives of so many people. And I think Google is very, you know, as much as we can criticize Google, they're very good at learning how to innovate and adjust, right? Even though as they've gotten larger, they've become way more bureaucratic and slower to move, but they still figure out how to move and they usually make things happen, right? So, no, I don't think Twitch is going to replace YouTube. Do I think creators will move to another place? I think creators who are interested in short term economic gain will, because they think somehow now, oh, Twitch is where I can make money, not understanding that the real money comes from sticking with something and doing it for a long period of time and getting good enough at it that real people want to give you money, not just Google's ad system. Because anybody, I mean, you look at a person like Roberto Blake, he sells courses, he consults. You know, like I've used YouTube to meet clients that I can help in real life, not just coaching clients. I mean, people that I help with marketing and business growth, right? So I've made way more money off of a video that has 13,000 views than, you know, my video that has 2 million views or whatever. I don't make any money on that because it was on Tim Schmoyer's channel, it wasn't on mine. But, you know, it's anybody that's thinking I'm going to come on YouTube and make all this money on ads, I just think you're fooling yourself in the long term. You're setting yourself up for short-term frustration and long-term loss. So no, and I don't think Twitch is going to somehow magically improve that. I think what creators need to figure out is either you need to get smart at how business works, or you need to get somebody in your camp that's good at business and let you be the creator and let them figure out how to bring money into your camp. Do I think creators will move to another place to monetize their art? Yeah, I think a lot of lower level creators will do that. But I think what will happen is smart creators will figure out how to monetize their art ambivalent to the platform. In other words, they'll get so good at their art. Like, look at a person like Bo Burnham. Perfect example, right? He's not PewDiePie. He doesn't do PewDiePie numbers, but that dude tours all over the world selling out theaters and arenas doing his act that he started on YouTube. Why? Because he was freaking amazing at what he did, honed his craft, and now people want to pay him to do shows. That's what creators don't understand, right? YouTube is like the second coming of music deals. Like I remember when I was in music, everybody wanted to get a record deal, not realize you don't make any money off the freaking record deal. The record label owns you, owns your music, and pimps you out to the streets. And now record deals take part of your live performance money. And that's how people are approaching YouTube. I just need to get a record deal. Like, you're insane. You need to get good enough at your art and good enough at building relationships and doing some level of business to make real money, not relying on YouTube's BS ad platform to try to make cash. In fact, I think the only reason they opened up the ad platform to everybody was just to get an influx of creators there making content so that then they can maximize their ad revenue. You can attract a lot of, if I can say I have 1 million people creating content, I think that was totally a strategic move. I don't think they had any intent. Like, they knew we're not going to pay, 90% of these people, we're not going to pay freaking more than 30 cents a year because they're not going to be good enough. Right. So no, I think, and then I think, yeah, some creators, like if you look at me, when I talk about moving to Twitch, it's not a financial decision. It's a decision for what I think is best for my audience, right? My audience 2 times now has made it abundantly clear that, Bryant, the crap you make is not what we want to watch. We want to watch this other stuff you used to do that was like a one-off gateway drug into more important things, but no, we want you to stay in this cute little box. My audience has made that clear. So it's like, well, then I need to go to a platform that's going to get me in front of a different audience. Because YouTube's made it clear that they're not really going to get me in front of more people. They're going to get me in front of you guys because you're here all the time. But unless I like having a record deal, unless I go out and start making hits, and I watched this happen to an acquaintance of mine in the music industry, where he got signed by Atlantic Records, and then his album flopped, and then he was dropped because he made the music he wanted to make. And all his A&Rs, all the managers were like, yo, bro, you need to make different music. This is not going to work. He's like, yeah, but this is what I need to make. This is my art. This is me. And that album tanked, right? And so the label cut him. And I look at YouTube the same way with me. Like, I attracted an audience doing one thing. And it was like, well, I never intended that to be the thing. I have all this other stuff I want to do, all this other stuff that frankly is better for all of you who are watching me if I could keep your attention for 30 seconds. And YouTube made it clear, no, dude, you need to start making hits. Get in here and start turning out hits. I'm like, I don't make hits. I make stuff that actually helps people. And because today I don't have the clout that attracts people to you just because you're famous, right? The kind of the number one leverage in the world is fame. I'm like, fine, I'll go build my fame somewhere else, in a place where it's more likely that I'm going to reach the right audience. Because I think I told you guys, my business partner asked me, why are you making these changes to YouTube? Why are you only going to upload your leftovers? I said, because YouTube's made it clear, and my audience has made it clear. YouTube's like, either make hits or we're not promoting you. My audience is like, either make more INFP videos or, dude, I don't want to watch it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I need a different audience. But to attract the audience that I'm really going after, I told my business partner, the way I answered the question was, I said, tell me how much time you spend on YouTube in a month. And he started laughing. He's like, well, I said, don't think of it like I'm going to be offended because I know you don't watch my content. How often do you come on YouTube? A month. He said, twice. Bam. I said, you are my target audience. I said, but you're on the radio, you're on Sirius FM, you're on podcasts. You are there. So that's where my audience is. That's where the content needs to be. And then Twitch becomes, I've noticed, because I started doing research, I started experimenting like I tell all of you to do. I get on Twitch and all of a sudden people start showing up. Like, and not my regulars. These are people that don't know me. I did one video, just a talking head video, and pulled just as much numbers as I can pull with the audience. I got 113 people. Hold on. I mean, now my video's back on. I got 130, let's see, 113, 14, 15 people now, thanks to Zoe and Can't Get Right. I have now 115 people following me on Twitch, right? But if I do a live stream talking head, I'm gonna get the same numbers on Twitch as I get here, which is telling me Twitch wants live long form content, which is what I make. So why be romantic or bitter at YouTube? Because YouTube, and I told you guys about a couple of years ago when I had a talk, I was at a Google partners meeting and I was talking to some of the engineers who were there at this, they met with a bunch of us creators, and I said, listen, man, I did a show that was 6 hours long. Watch time is off the hook. The whole audience stayed there till 2 o'clock in the morning. What else do I need to do to get you guys to promote that video? Like, clearly there's something here for people. He's like, well, the answer was kind of this ambivalent because they never want to tell you what's going on behind the scenes. I'm like, so if watch time is everything, I just gave you 1 billion hours of watch time. And the answer was kind of this ambiguous, well, but that was live. People come to a live show expecting a live show. They don't necessarily want to watch it after the fact. And in the back of my mind, I'm calling BS because I'm like, people sit here and watch Joe Rogan's show for 3 hours, even though it's technically not live. It's the same type of show, right? And so that was kind of the writing on the wall to look, dude, either make edited content that's not 4 hours long or don't. If you want us to promote your stuff, you got to do it a certain way. You got to play by the rules. I said, well, I'm never going to play by those rules. So why would I get mad at YouTube and try to force them or change my style? Like I'm not changing my style because I start doing, 8-minute vlogs. I'm like, hey guys, Brian here, listen. Like, no. Everyone's going to know, first of all, that's inauthentic. Well, a couple people will watch it because it'll be hilarious. But then it's, all these jump cuts, and I got to zoom in on the camera because you're so addicted to dopamine that you can't have the screen be static for more than 30 seconds. It's like, nah. I'll go to Twitch where the audience turns it on and then they let it run in the background while they do other stuff. People treat Twitch, and this is the pro tip why I'm telling all of you, especially you freelancers, to get there, not just to follow me, but for you to start creating content. People treat Twitch like a podcast. That's the whole point. It's they watch it passively, right? My audience is busy. My target audience is busy. They're building businesses. They're starting freelancer work. They don't have 4 hours to come here and hang out. They do, and even and some of you do, right? Some of you will make 4 hours to come watch me. But wouldn't it be better if I could give you something that you can listen to or watch where you didn't have to physically be here, right? Other than the fact that I answer questions, which I'm going to answer questions on Twitch too, right? Live on the podcast, I'll get questions, I'll answer them. So going back to the question, it's just a matter of, yes, a lot of creators will leave because they think it's a short-term financial decision, and then they're going to realize, oh, that didn't work either. Because they just keep jumping ship trying to find the money instead of actually figuring out what is it that I'm good at that people would eventually pay me for, right? That's what you have to figure out. Jolly says, most of those content creators who are complaining were living beyond their means anyways. So when things came up short, it's woe is me. Yeah. Kaya says, yeah, if they are continuously misunderstanding whatever you were saying, everything, and you're trying to clear, but they again think you are being manipulative, then silence is better for everyone. Yeah, and I'm not going to let somebody interrupt the stream. Like I had somebody come on the stream one time. I was playing Fallout and spoiled Star Wars. Like there's just jerks who do that, or they run bots because they think it's hilarious. It's like I'm not gonna. Like these people are not gonna come back to the stream and ruin something for everybody. Let's see. Tyler Brown says, "Yup." Alyssa says, "Video is working again. Don't be picking your nose or anything." I scratch my nose a lot because when I talk, it makes my nose vibrate and it itches. But no, I won't pick my nose. Promise. Noob Five says, "Definitely easier for new people to find your live streams on Twitch." Right, and it's new people, and it's Twitch is like we want people to be streaming, and this guy is streaming, and he clearly has been able to amass an audience in a short time. He's got over 100 people very quickly. So let's get him in front of folks. Let's test it out. And they're good at knowing with the data they collect on people, knowing that if I talk about a topic, they know who on Twitch would actually watch that, so they funnel them there. Twitch is very smart that way, and YouTube does the same thing. It's just what YouTube wants more of. It's just not what I make, right? So it's all good. And like I said, I'm not gonna stop putting content on YouTube. I'm going to respect the platform and say, okay, YouTube, this is what you want. This is the compromise. I'm gonna do everything somewhere else, and then I'm gonna bring it back to you as a slightly edited piece of content that's still gonna be 3 hours long or 2 hours long or whatever. And I'm just going to upload it and let you do what you want with it. Alyssa says, I got my acceptance letter from the program. Only 2 steps left to it and hope it's everything I'm looking for and more. Man, that's awesome. I'm nervous about it, but also excited to learn. I'm so happy to have you with me through this. Yeah, and I'm happy. Just keep me posted. Remember, and I think we talked about this on one of our coaching calls, but I'll say it again just in case I didn't. Always remember that biologically, Nervousness and excitement are the same thing. It's when you feel nervous, it's a mental interpretation of a physiological change, right? So the truth is you're just really excited and you're about to start winning in ways that you've been dreaming about and it's starting to come together, so you're excited, but the brain can interpret that as nervousness too. So just know they're the same thing and it's totally okay to feel nervous or even to feel afraid sometimes. It's totally fine. Just feel it and just keep moving one step at a time. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see as you get through these things. Um, and use the group because I know as you work through certifications and things like that, I believe you're going to need to have certain hours of coaching. I don't know if your previous profession counts as that, but talk to the people in the group. Like if you need to coach, talk to people in our group and say, hey, I got to get 20 coaching hours to get this certification. You know, as you're working through, if you decide to do that part too, um, and just coach them. Everybody, heck, I might sign up for your coaching. Lucas Martinez says, I want to ask a question, but I don't know what exactly. Okay, well, when you think of it, hopefully we'll still be live. Tyler Brown says, okay, what other questions you guys got? By the way, Ig, that was a great question. I think it's an appropriate question, and I hopefully provided some clarity to the spoiled brattiness of a lot of YouTube creators. And I've called, and I never call people out by name, right? Because I'm not trying to attack a person. I'm just talking about the behavior. Like, dude, you need to man that up. Like, I get that money came up short, and I get that. That's scary. But don't get on YouTube screaming about the downfall. YouTube's gonna be just fine with or without you. You know what I mean? Like, figure out how to make money off the platform. I don't know if my profession counts. 25% can be pro bono. Exactly right. So totally talk to the people in the group, and I'm sure folks will, and if what I recommend is you film it so that you can put it like on a YouTube channel or something and show like here's all my hours of coaching. Jadavia says, how to deal with a parent who dawn. Oh, looks like it cut her comment off. So I'll wait for Shadavia's next question or the rest of Shadavia's question to come in. I pressed send by accident. No, no worries. Don't worry about it. Oh, I also realized too with this book behind me, I had been not really criticizing it, but saying, "Oh, Robert Cialdini's book is better," and I forgot that Robert Cialdini is one of the people that wrote this book. Like, let's see. Lucas Martinez says, "Any books you suggest for certain types like ENTPs?" Not really. Good books are good books. What you have to figure out, what's more important for you to figure out, just take Myers Briggs out of that equation and just figure out, do you learn by reading? Is that the best way you personally learn? And if it is, what is it that you want to learn about? Second thing, so you need to ask yourself, do I learn best by reading? Because if you don't, then there's audiobooks, coaching programs like ours, there's podcasts like Joe Rogan's where you'll learn a ton if you watch the right ones. Um, then ask yourself, what is it that I want to learn? Then just go find the best books on the market. I mean, these books become bestsellers because they're usually the best at what they do. Um, that's how I recommend people pick books. If reading books is what works for you. Like for example, I can't read fiction books. Like people are like, yo, you need to read Ready Player One. Like, nope, it's not gonna happen because I cannot read fiction. I cannot read stories. I zone out. I get bored. Um, every once in a while, like the Chronicles of Narnia is so good that it can keep my attention. But I just know I'd rather watch the movie, even though everyone yells and says the movie's not as good as the book. Yeah, I know that, but it's 60% is good. That's good enough. I know everything that happens. It's fine. Shadavia says, how to deal with a parent that don't exactly support what you do. Well, uh, it depends. Like, give me give me a specific example because that's a really hard question to answer in general. Um, because depending on the situation, how I would deal with it or perhaps advise someone to deal with it, it's going to change based on the situation. So when you say they don't support what you do, give me a specific example of them showing you that they don't support you. And then from there, I can give you a little bit more specifics on, you know, how to deal with the situation. Alyssa says most parents want to see you succeed. They want what they believe is best for you based on their experience, not your desire. Set boundaries and go for your dreams. After a little while or a small success, they will likely support you. That is true too. Great advice. Nubify says, I have a bit of an out there question. All right, cool. I was watching a Philip DeFranco live stream a short while ago, and Brian Chambers asked about stocks in his company. In his company, was that you by chance? That was not me. That's an awesome question. No, that was not me. I have never been on. At least I don't think I've never been on a Philip DeFranco live stream. I think I've watched one of his live streams after the fact, and I watched it for about 5 minutes because he was talking about something that was changing. Jadavia says, "Thanks, Alyssa." I told you I'm just gonna start letting Alyssa run these. I'm telling you. But yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice from Alyssa. But I'd like to go deeper. Give me an example of your parents. How are they showing you that they don't support you? And then I can give you some specifics. I can supplement um, the great advice that Alyssa gave, if you'd like. If Alyssa's answer answers the mail, I told you that's why I hang around smart people. Because that's my hustle. Is that I sound a lot smarter than I probably am. Uh, it's because I hang out with a lot of smart people that say things. I'm like, I need to write that down because that's really smart. All right, what other questions do you all have? And I'm gonna check my email. I don't see any more Twitch follows. I post that link again. Y'all ain't listening. Although I know most of you already follow me. I'm not trying to be annoying about it. I do genuinely just want to give you all as much opportunity as I can to, because here's the deal, friends. I'm going to eventually stop doing this on YouTube, and I want you to be in the place where it's going to pick back up, so you don't miss what's happening. 'Cause, I mean, if you get value out of this, I'd like to keep this going. All right, and thank you to all of you who did follow me. I really appreciate that. And that Denzel Washington post did really well. All right, Larry Adams says, "What has encouraged you most to strive for your long-term goals?" Most. What encourages me the most is the results that I get. When I have received emails over the years. This is stuff that doesn't happen usually on streams. This is private. Over the years I've been doing this, I've received emails that have said everything from I was going to commit suicide and I didn't, um, because I watched a couple of your shows, to I had a kid that was following me who was dealing with brain cancer and was going through the process to get rid of it. He's healed and I believe fully healthy now. Um, and he said my videos helped him get through that. And I, my mother is a cancer survivor, and I remember being there for for some of her treatments because I was in the army. I was coming home when I could and trying to help. I watched her go through that hell, so I knew something of the pain this young man was experiencing, and to say, "Oh, your videos are what got me through," like, and it's funny because I was literally like my business was starting to pick up on the consulting side, everything I was doing on YouTube was kind of crashing down around me because it was I was starting to realize that I was going in a different direction than YouTube wanted me to go. This is when I first started to discover how YouTube really works and what they want. And really it's not YouTube is not the challenge. It's understanding what an audience wants. And when I talked to, I told you I was coaching my the people in my company. I told them that they have the curse of the creator, and what the curse of the creator is you see things through the mind and the lens of a creator, not a consumer, which means you're already at odds with the consumer. And it takes a very special creator to be able to bridge that gap. And I learned a long time ago, I'm not great at that. Like I'm really, really good at reaching the people who are wired to consume my content and keeping their attention and really working with them and building something with them. Uh, Outside of my life as a musician, I was never great at entertaining an audience and getting millions of people to come consume something that was entertaining. Because what's entertaining to me is not entertaining to most people. I watch Portlandia, for God's sake. Right? I don't like Game of Thrones. Like the things that because I'm a creator, and I'm not saying I know there's creators that like Game of Thrones. My point is, as a creator, your perspective is just different. So it's you're trying to take all this knowledge and all these things you know and put it into a package that a consumer can consume. And I've never been amazing at that, admittedly. And I call that the curse of the creator. And it's just, YouTube was really starting to, and I realized that the screen froze again. YouTube was really starting to and this was technically my first real YouTube channel, was starting to tank. Viewership was going down because I was experimenting with so many different things, I was trying to find something like a middle ground between me and my audience because I wanted to do something my audience didn't want it, and it was just like, what do I do? So I was like a day from just walking. Like before, this was before I started this channel that you guys are watching. I was like, I think the YouTube experiment has run its course because this would have been like 2016 probably. I was like, this YouTube experiment has run its course. It's proven that I am not a good fit for the way the audience wants to consume content. I need to find another option, and that was when I started to really look at podcasting. And I was about to quit. And then I got that email. I was like, yeah, maybe I can't. Like this kid just came out of nowhere. Like it made all the struggle to build. And I'm not talking about like vanity metrics, like how many subscribers I have. I don't care about that. It was none of my subscribers are watching my content. And I was making some really, really good stuff that people just, the audience voted, were like, we don't want that. Like, thanks. That's nice, but that's not what we want. So it was like me coming to grips with the audience wants something very different than what I'm creating. So I either need to find a new audience. Oh, message from the wife. Hold on. You guys know my wife hits me. Everything stops. She comes first. Got it. Let me put a heart on here so she knows I still love her. So the bottom line was I was getting ready to just walk and be like, yeah, YouTube, great times, great experiment. I'm out. And that message was like, no, there's people who are watching me and I just don't know they're here. Like there are people who need what I'm saying. They're just not vocal, right? Because I wasn't gonna quit making content. I was just gonna do it on Facebook. Like, because on Facebook I can get my content in front of exactly who I want to see it, um, very easily. YouTube, not quite as easy, right? And even though YouTube has some similar mechanisms, a lot harder to get them to engage with it because there's so many other things pulling them in different directions. Facebook, I think, built a better platform for that. So, what kept me going was just hearing from you guys. Constant, yo, what you said really helped me. And not even the big stuff like that, even small stuff. And there's stories I won't tell you guys because it's some stuff is so horrific and it's very, very private. I don't like, even though I'll never tell you the person's name and you'll never know who they are, I don't want you to know that it's happening. Um, because there's some suffering and hurting people out there, friends. And I mean, in a real bad way. And they're contacting me. Now, granted, uh, a lot of those people are Facebook folks, not you. They're not watching YouTube content. The point is, that's what keeps me going. Is I know that I'm making. I see that I'm actually having an impact, and nothing makes me happier than knowing that something I said or did helped another person. 'Cause guys, I've seen suffering. I've seen death way more than I ever wanted to. Um, I've experienced suffering. I've had friends die. Like, I've experienced enough suffering to the point where if I can, and that's, talking about my coaching programs, honestly, that's the main motivation behind them is I took my suffering and said I never want anyone to have to go through this the way that I did. I don't want to take away their struggle, right? Because the struggle makes you strong, but you can struggle without suffering, right? You can struggle without suffering. I need you guys to understand that distinction. Struggle is good because it strengthens you. Suffering is never good, right? And I was like, if I can prevent those of you that care enough to spend 30 minutes to 4 hours listening to me talk, if I can prevent you from going through the suffering I went through because I have the roadmap and I can help you avoid it, then that's what I'm going to do. And when I hear people say that it's actually working and it's helpful, one, that means the world to me. And two, it makes me want to keep going because what'll happen if I reach, I think we've reached somewhere around, if you average everything out, like 7 million people or so with everything that we've done. What happens when I do get to a billion? Like, does the world fundamentally change? Not because of me, but because I influenced somebody that then went out and influenced 20 people, 30 people, right? I'm not talking about doing it alone. You all, I called it the Bryant Chambers movement because I am the face. You all are the movement. Movement's not me, it's y'all. Do I inspire you guys to go out and do something good in the lives of other people? Hell yeah. That's going to keep me in the game. So that's what keeps me in the game is the results, man. It's like going to the gym for 2 years and then you're all of a sudden you look awesome. Okay, so my screen is locked up, so I'm gonna miss some comments. If I miss it, I'm gonna start with Lucas Martinez because that's where I'm at right now. If I missed your comment, it's because my screen's frozen. Uh, so just repost it. Lucas says followed you on Twitch. Awesome, thank you. Larry Adams says creating within the mind of the consumer is the heart of marketing. Yeah, it really is. Um, and marketing always was never really difficult for me because that's um, the content creation piece is separate from the marketing piece, right? So it's the content because it's not that it wasn't that I wasn't creating with the consumer in mind. Absolutely, it's just that you certain consumers you have, and what I was really talking about specifically is this: the YouTube specific consumer is very different than the types of consumers I typically deal with, in business and as a coach. Like I don't in my real life, I'm not coaching people who I have to beg for their attention, right? Like I have people looking for me because they know I have a skill that can help them get better at something, make more money, make their employees happier, right? So YouTube is very much a what have you done for me lately? Please entertain me. And that's where I mean the disconnect was. It's not that I can't make things with the mind of the consumer. It's just that this consumer specifically, I don't have their same mind. Um, and so it was a lot harder because, like, when I meet with entrepreneurs, like a lot of entrepreneurs listen to my podcast. I'm like, dude, make more freaking podcasts. I'm like, it's coming. Stop yelling at me. Like, I listened to all 30 or however many. I think there's like 10 or so. Like, I listened to all of these in one night. More, right? That's my target audience. When I'm reaching a YouTube audience where a lot of my target audience just isn't there with regularity, that's more what I'm getting at. But you're 100% right. Shadavia says, Alyssa nailed it with the advice. I may have exaggerated things a bit, but my mom naturally fears taking big risks. So when I try to take a big risk, she advises me to settle for less. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, Alyssa's advice is spot on then because it's the safest. But like Alyssa says, she could be reacting this way, but change when she sees. My mother's very much the same way, and I had to have a conversation with her because she was asking me when I got real serious in business. And she's like, "But is it safe?" I said, "Nothing's safe, Mom." I said, "You got sent home from your job for a month because the government's crazy. Like, there's nothing safe. Like I said, but do I strike you as a person who wants safety or a person who wants to fundamentally impact the world? And then she ducked her head. She's like, yeah, you're right. And then she goes, you're just like him. And I was like, who? And she's like, my mentor. She was talking about my mentor. She's like, you're just freaking like him. I don't get you entrepreneur people. Happy Abby says, looking at the books from the background, how did you manage to read these many books? To a 24-year-old woman, which book would you suggest for self help? Well, all of them. How did I read all of them? Uh, one day at a time. And in fact, all of them have not been read, actually. Some of these are books that are in my collection that I haven't gotten to yet. I would say I have read most of the books on my shelf, especially, well, you guys can't see me because the camera's frozen, but all the stuff that's to the right of the kind of center mass of the screen, I think I've read all the books on those shelves. Um, just one day at a time. Let's see. Kaya says, I fear suffering for others and those who are around them, but I don't fear suffering and death myself. Larry Adams says, bingo, struggle makes you strong, strong enough to pass it on. Amen. Kira says, this is a movement. It is, absolutely. Noob says, or Noob I don't know if it's Fi or Fee. I saw a YouTuber with 450K subs belittling a Twitch streamer with 5K to 10K concurrent viewers recently. Perspective, yeah, that's hilarious. But you know what? I always say people who are willing to put you down are actually below you. They're insecure, they're narcissistic, and they're hurting. They are hurting people. And hurt people hurt people. Sometimes. Some hurt people realize that hurting sucks and they never want to hurt anybody. Noobify says, I listen to podcasts at 2 times speed, so I go through a lot. Slow down when needed. Yeah. Shadavia says, thanks, Brian. Yeah, no problem. Tyler Brown says, how long should. Crap, didn't mean to send that yet. Yeah, YouTube's tricky. YouTube is tricky because you press enter trying to. Yeah, it's crazy. I got you. I'm here, so take your time. Get to you. Anybody else got questions out there? Kira says, looks like my bookshelf. LOL. Love reading. Oh, and I'm sorry. Uh, Abby said, would I recommend a book for her? 24-year-old. If I'm 24, which book would I read off my shelf? I don't usually classify things like in terms of age or personality and stuff like that when it comes to books. If I had to recommend one book to you at 24, I would say read. I mean, all of them are good, but let me see. I have so many books, it's going to be hard for me to narrow it down. Let's see. Out of all the books on my shelf at 24, I would read The One Thing by Gary Keller. That's the one. And it's, if you're looking at my shelf, it's just above my frozen head. It's usually a white book. It's black because my kids lost the cover. Definitely not the quarter life crisis. Alyssa says one of my favorites is "You Are a Badass" by Jen Cicero. Yep, I read that book. Was it late last year or early this year? It's pretty good. And then she had the "You're a Badass at Making Money" follow-up book. I have both of them. I got them at Target for like they were on some crazy sale, and I was very happy to have them. Reading Dave says, "What makes a good accountability partner? How can I be more accountable? Find somebody who's 10 to 20 years ahead of where you want to be. Well, that's a good mentor. A good accountability partner is somebody who understands your struggle but strong where you're weak. For example, my business partner is my accountability partner. He is very strong in the areas of self-compassion, self-love, um, and grace, right? Things I've never been good at giving myself, right? So like the analogy he used to describe me, he used because he's a deacon at a church. He used a Bible analogy. He says when um how did he say it? It was such a perfect thing. Like he said, you're the type of person like when he was talking about the part where Jesus was walking on the water and how he called Peter out to walk out to him. Peter walks out to him and starts sinking, right? He says when Peter starts sinking, he immediately said, "Lord, help me," and Jesus pulls him out of the water, right? He says, "You're the dude who's going to swim to the other side of the lake to prove to Jesus that you're worth being pulled out of the water." I was like, "Dang." Right? So he's very good at recognizing when I'm not being compassionate with myself, or I'm working too hard to try to earn something that is just given from God or from other people that love me. I'm always working for affection. I feel like, my mother mistakenly beat into my head when I was young that love's not a word, it's action, which is true. But it's like, don't tell me you love me, show me. It's like, well, I guess I got to show all these people I love them all the time, or I'm not loving them, right? Because she said it in this angry kind of way. It was just like, that always stuck with me. So it created a sense of, a lack of self compassion. Like I have to push myself to show people that I love them. And he's like, nah, dude, slow down. Um, have a Snickers and chill out. So yeah, a good accountability partner is someone who's strong where you're weak. The iron sharpens iron parable and all that stuff. In fact, I think the You're a Badass book is like directly above my head, the green book. Or is that the Badass at Money? I think Badass is yellow, so it's somewhere else on my shelf. Okay. What other questions do you guys and ladies have? 'Cause if you ain't got no mo, I'm gonna go. Tyler says, how long should you give something a chance before you decide it's not what you want to do for the rest of your life? Because right now, when I try to learn something new, I get very frustrated when I can't grasp the skill. So remember, um, to be a master at a skill, the rule of thumb is like 10,000 hours. It's like 10 years of doing it. Uh, but when you're experimenting, you need to read Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. And so when he talks about feedback analysis, which is what you're talking about, you need to give an experiment at least 90 days doing it before you like just write it off, right? And that's not a hard and fast rule. Like accounting, I didn't need 90 days to figure out I'm always not going to be amazing at this. I'm going to be good enough at it to keep my business afloat. Then I'm going to hand my books. I do my books, right? Here's what happens. I do my books to the best of my ability, and then I pay my accountant, like, here, make this not suck. And my accountant takes it and makes it not suck. Same thing like with design. So some of you know Anna, who's the designer in our company, and she's like the mercenary of the company. She does a lot of different things. And I went to her with, I had contracted her to do some work for a proposal I was doing for the Washington Redskins. And I wrote this long, horrible notepad. Like, all these are the things I want in the infographic. She took that whole mess that I wrote and turned it into gold, right? So, some things I know I'm not going to be great at. I don't need 90 days to figure it out. But if you're curious, give something at least 30 days. And then if it's all right, cool. If you're not completely disgusted with it, then give it 90. You got to give it time. You got to give time before you just write something off. And if you're getting frustrated, you're not getting good at something, then you need a mindset adjustment. You need to know I'm not going to be good at this the first time I do it. Like I'll give you a perfect example. First time I played golf for real. I don't know jack about golf, and I'm playing with two guys. One who's actually pretty good because he plays all the time. Right. The other guy, his son, plays, sporadically, but he knows how to play. I don't know jack. I'm out on the course just whatever, right? And so I'm watching, the guy's dad, he's like my dad too. I call him dad actually when we hang out. So dad, it's my best friend's dad, and dad hits it, and he's doing his thing. My boy hits it, and he's getting angry because it's not working, and like he's kind of good at golf and he's just getting frustrated because it's not going his way. I'm hitting the ball and it's hitting people's houses and breaking windows, and I'm laughing because I know I suck. Like I can't have expectations I'm going to show up to a golf course and be awesome when I've never done it before. So anytime I get one good hit, I'm high fiving. Yeah, son, look at that hit. It's delicious. Like I'm hyped because I know I suck. I can't come to the golf course and get mad that I didn't shoot like a Tiger Woods game. I've never done it before. So you need to exercise some patience with that. Like you're not just gonna pick something up and then just be amazing at it, right? You may have certain propensities to be good at something without a whole lot of practice, but you're not going to be amazing at it until you put the work in. Do, do, do. Yeah, great question by the way. Alyssa says I'm currently reading The Power of Who. I'm only a couple chapters in so far. It seems like it has good potential to teach me something, but hasn't yet. Keep reading. I'm sure it's on your shelf somewhere. I do not have The Power of Who. Here's what I do. Go to the table of contents, find the title of the chapter that actually sounds interesting to you, and then go scavenge through that chapter until you find something that actually connects with you. Do that a couple of times, and if nothing connects, just move on to the next book. Don't like if you're in that situation, reading page for page is going to be torture because you're not getting anything out of it. I'll give you a perfect example of a book that everybody loves that I was like, oh God, there's two books. The Purpose Driven Life by was that Neil Clark Warren, the guy that invented eHarmony, I think, or no. Neil Clark Warren invented eHarmony. Purpose Driven Life is the I think the preacher out in San Diego. I got 3 pages into that book. First, I realized that the first line of the book is the point. So I'm like, I don't need to read anything else. That's it. The book starts off with "It's not about you." Like, thanks, got it on the shelf. I didn't like that book. I just couldn't get through it. Um, and partly because I felt like they told me like it's not about you. Okay. Purpose driven life is I need to have and I'm a military dude, so a lot of the principles in that book were kind of parochial to me because they're all military like the military principles are you're a part of something bigger than yourself. It's about team before I, blah 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 blah, right? So the book, which I'm sure is an amazing book, I'm just saying for me, I wasn't going to keep reading that. I'm good. Done. It's not about me. Got it. Thanks, boss. Um, and then what was the other book I was trying to read and struggling? That wasn't the one I actually wanted to use in the example. It's Purpose Driven Life, and oh yeah, The Magic of Thinking Big. I was so bored reading that book. Like, yeah, I got this. Like, next. I don't like. I don't need this book. Right. So some books just aren't going to resonate with you. Like I've given managing oneself to people like, dude, this is stupid. I know all this. Like, well, you might have head knowledge, but how much of it are you actually doing? And if you're doing all of it, then you're good. You don't need to read the book. But I think it's a powerful book for people who aren't there. So find the chapters that stand out as interesting to you. Skip to it, skim through it, find some stuff that either interests you. Do that a couple times. If not, put it on the shelf. Come back to it another time. Tyler says, "Yeah, my patience is pretty bad to be honest. So you need to work on that." Young Ig says, "Do you recommend reading a good book multiple times?" Absolutely. There's a book on my shelf called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. I think the covers almost come off that book. I've read it so many times. And it's not really a praised, like not a lot of people talk about that book. And some of the principles are a little outdated when it comes to marketing, like they're not exactly true anymore in the digital age. But the spirit behind the principles is legit. And it teaches a lot of very basic things to people, just in business in general, not just in marketing. Um, but yeah, I read this book with some regularity. The Obstacle is the Way. That book kind of stays in rotation. What else? I have books that just kind of stay in my rotation from time to time. Um, I heard Ty Lopez once say, I don't know if he invented the quote, but he said, a good book is like a good friend. You should go back to it regularly. Um, I go back to my evolutionary psychology textbook. Um, somewhat frequently because I'm like, I need to refresh. Because I actually, there's a part of my course, my marketing course, which um, it's not open to the public. It's only the people that paid for the course have access to that piece. My, the free portions of my marketing course are a lot of the course, but there's some hidden videos in there that were just for the people that paid to be there. And I taught a course out of how to find, attract, and keep customers forever based on evolutionary psychology. Um, Managing oneself, I go back to all the time to either rewire or to reinforce something in me or to go back to it for other people. The what's the name of the book? I always get it wrong. The Little Red Book of Selling. I go to semi regularly. Um, Riveted, I have on my desk now. I read that usually once a year. So yeah, the short answer is absolutely, absolutely. When you find books that really make a point, because it's just like the Bible, man. You can't read it once and be like, all right, got it. It's, I have to go back because I'll go back and read something in Scripture, and be like, oh, dang, I didn't get that from that the first time I read that. That actually still like matter of fact, in my Bible reading today, oh man, I lost the page. I was gonna read you guys something cool that I read in my Bible study today. But yeah, definitely go back and read stuff over and over again. Alyssa says, that's how I felt about the Jordan Peterson book you had me read. It really seemed to never get to the point. I only got about a quarter of the way through it. Yes. Yeah, so with any book, when you're feeling like that, bounce. Like I can't stand, and Jordan does this to a degree too. Like he'll start storytelling. The minute a book starts storytelling, like this book is 70% stories. I just go find the thing that I'm supposed to do, highlight it, next chapter. What's the thing I'm supposed to do? Because it's all anecdotal. It's, well, when we ran the experiment back in 1975, we tested 4,000 students at Berkeley to find. I'm like, I don't care. What is the thing I'm supposed to do? Oh, it's these three lines right here. Right, like Seth Godin said, every book really can be 3 to 5 pages if it's nonfiction. So just bounce around. Like I didn't read every word of the Jordan Peterson book. I got the parts from it that really benefited me and kept it moving. Uh, Lisa Lightning says, yeah. In fact, with the Jordan Peterson book, I read the titles and then like the little brief kind of summarization things he did in some of the chapters. Like the title of the chapter tells me what I'm supposed to do. I didn't need 24 pages of someone telling a story to help solidify it. Like I got it. I'm going to do that from now on. And by the way, if you guys are still watching this, I'm giving you great advice on how to read books very quickly and how I get through so many books. It's because a lot of books I do not read every word. Some I do. This big black book on my desk is going to take me probably 6 months to read because I'm reading every word and then I'm going back and rereading it over and over again because it's that good. Uh, Alyssa says, I love The Obstacle is the Way. If anyone needs a second, yeah, Obstacle is the Way is this. This should be mandatory reading in sixth grade, and then every year after that, you should have to do a book report on it in school. Let's see. Lisa Lightning says, I am also reading Atomic Habits. I could get into the power of habit. Yeah, I have that on my shelf. Haven't read it yet. Too many case studies and no connection, at least for the first several chapters. Then I stopped. Yep. Well, thank you for warning me because I haven't started reading that yet. I think it's The Power of Habit. Is it? Yep. Power of Habit. Haven't started that one yet, so I'll be sure to skip around that one too. All right, y'all. Let's get to the last minute questions. What do you guys got for me? What do you guys got for me? 'Cause I need to eat food. I've not eaten dinner tonight. 'Cause I ate a late lunch and I wasn't hungry and I didn't want to eat all the stuff my family was eating at the bowling alley. Let's see, Nubify says, how do you approach forgetting things you have taken time to learn in the past? I just like spending time on things just to forget them a year later. Could be TV, books, learning. So I would apply Einstein's advice there, which says never try to memorize things that you can look up. And take that with a grain of salt. There are some things you should memorize, right? Because if you have that quick recall in a situation where you need it, you can do your thing. But a lot of things, if you can just look them up, like the types of learning outlined in Peter Drucker's Managing Oneself. There's reading, there is talking, there is writing, and I forgot the fourth one. I'm not gonna memorize. I'll just go look it up. Oh, but also, some of the things you can do is if you can create systems like acronyms for things, right? Um, Acronyms can be helpful. See, Lisa Lightning says deep work is good for a second read. Happy Avi says I've read Power of Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I feel it's old, dates back to the 80s, and it's too much of religion biased and superstitions, not reflecting on logic. Okay, I haven't read that book, so I am not familiar. But I read religious and secular books. And, what I would tell you is just I would just tell you, like so. For example, I'm a person who believes in God, but I read a lot of books written by atheists. But it's funny. All the atheists I read, because a lot of it's science books, are like actually believing in God makes you live longer. Like they argue with themselves. Yeah, but if you're looking, let me ask you this, Avi. What you said, any book with rationality and logic. Well, I got a ton of books that have logic, but what type of book are you looking to read specifically? Tyler Brown says, "How do you bounce back from an unproductive day? We all have those days where we need to relax, but sometimes I relax for an extra day than what I should. How do you get back on top of things?" Amnesia. That's how you get back on top of things. It's the same thing they teach NFL quarterbacks. And actually, they teach any good quarterback even before they get to the NFL. If I go out and throw an interception, I have to forget it and focus on the next play. Like I can't sit here and dwell on what I didn't do yesterday. That's ridiculous, right? So if I'm in a, there's two things you need to focus on. One, stop thinking about yesterday. Yesterday is gone. It's dead. You screwed it up. Fine. And then immediately, without thinking, start taking massive action. Get butt off of couch. Start working. Like, don't think about it. Don't rationalize it. Don't think about yesterday. Get up and throw the next pass. Period. Just get up and throw the next pass. You got to do it. Lisa Lightning says, "What do you do when you realize you may have been more wrong than you thought?" Well, give me, yeah, that's too general. Give me as like an example. What do you mean? I'm wrong all the time. Um, I don't necessarily do anything about being wrong. I'm just wrong. But give me an example of where you were wrong and what you're trying to ask me. It's hilarious to me that my computer is frozen, but all of your comments are still coming through. It's pretty cool. Noobify says, "Thanks for the stream, Brian." Oh man, anytime. Yeah, come holler at us in the coaching program, man. You can get this. You can get 30 plus hours of core coaching, and then get 100 plus hours of additional stuff that will keep you busy for the rest of your life. Actually, it's funny. Like I've had people go through. Like my marketing course was over 100 hours. I've had people go through it. Like, yeah, I'm all the way up to the what we used to call the black belt course, which was the one that was thousands of dollars, and it was like you're at the black belt already. It's been 4 days. It's like 60, 40 hours of content. Like, yeah, man, it's great stuff. Like doing it like a full time job. Alyssa says my relaxation days are devoted to the production I desire to do what I need or should do to get what I want. I need to feel as though I'm progressing to feel good about my day. Yeah, and sometimes like my days are self care days, right? My doctor made me start doing that, but it's been a freaking tremendous blessing. Okay. Lisa says, okay, so you're in a relationship and you were wrong, but what did you do? Like, what did you do that was wrong, and what was the outcome? Like, you like, argued about the ingredients to, you know, cooking recipe, and you were wrong about that, or and if it's too personal, it's fine. You don't have to share it. Uh, the question is too general for me to give you any advice that's really going to help you. Other than, well, if you were wrong, just admit that you were wrong. and keep it moving. Like that's the answer I would give to that question. Like admit to yourself that you were wrong, and if you need to admit it to someone else, admit it. Keep it moving. When you thought you were in the right in your stance and you start to realize maybe the other person wasn't as wrong as you were. Okay, so you were accusing someone of being wrong. So go to them and tell them. Like, hey, I did some more research on this thing we were debating about. Turns out um I was wrong, and I apologize if I made you, if you were attacking them, then just apologize. And that goes back to my video a couple days ago, the taking personal responsibility, right? And taking being accountable and taking personal responsibility, being able to admit, one of the things about a soldier is you have to be able to admit that you're wrong. It's a part of our, it's a part of our belief system that you make a mistake, you own the mistake. You don't have to be sorry, Lisa. I mean, I'm imagining that you've got some personal stuff here that you don't want to put on the internet. I respect that. But I think I can glean enough from what you're saying is you got in an argument, you thought you were right, you realized you weren't. Now you need to go make amends. You just go tell a person, "Hey, look, sorry for, whatever transpired." And I admit after further review I wasn't as right as I thought I was. And I apologize if I made you feel bad. And then no blood, no foul. Let's see. Alyssa says, I believe not party is usually. Oh, sorry, autocorrect got me on the last one. And let me see if I can interpret it though. I believe not party is usually is wrong. Um, but emotion in the moment can cloud the judgment. Absolutely. Just admit your fault and talk it out honestly. There you go. Kaya. Oh, I can't approve your. Oh, yes, I can. I can do it on my phone. Kaya cussed, so it weeded out her comment, but there was nothing wrong with it, so I'm going to show it. Happy Abby says to control the mind, to follow a disciplined life, especially how to overcome oscillations. For say, in a 90 days, some days I'm super energetic, some days dull. A book that teaches tricks to consistency. So a good one is Jocko Willink's Field Manual on Discipline. It's called Discipline Equals Freedom. The field manual will be good for that. Let's see, what else can I give you? That's where I'd start. Is with that very much. Just Jocko Willink's. I'm trying to find it to read you the actual title. I don't know where it is on my shelf. No, it's not up there with Questlove. All right, so it's not there on that shelf. No, I mean it's a giant book. I should be able to see it, but it might be behind something else. Yeah, but Discipline Equals Freedom is where I would start by Jocko Willink. Let's see if I can. I know I wouldn't have put it on the shelf over here. That book. This is like my kind of reject shelf of stuff I either haven't read or I read but wasn't all that interested in. And I have other bookshelves that aren't in this room, but yeah, that's where I'd start. Oh, my chair stopped working. Oh my God, excuse me. All right, friends, I'm about to get ready and get up out of here. So, if you have any, if there's any last question that anyone wants to ask, get it in now, because I'm about to bounce. If you have, uh, Jolly Mage, if you were still here, if you'd be so kind as to post a link to the coaching program, because my computer's locked up and I can't do it. Well, you know what? I can do it from my phone. Don't worry about it. Let's see that. Alyssa said at Kaya, I've felt the same. It's normal. I believe No person reveals more than 99% of themselves, so that they are both 100% vulnerable. Lisa Lightning says, "Thanks so much for these streams." Yeah, like I said, follow me on Twitch because that's where they're going. I don't want anyone to get left behind. Clicking on stuff and it is not behaving properly. Is this really going to be like this? Tyler says, "I do. Give me a sec. I'm still typing it." Okay. I'll give you a sec. No problem. In the meantime, too, I'm posting a link to my coaching program I told you about. Now, reminder, uh, it is currently 70% off the full price it's going to be when it officially launches very soon. All right. So do not miss your opportunity. And there's no obligation by going on the web. When you go to the website and you click request access, it's not going to charge you anything. It's just going to send you an email. It's going to let you put your email in so I can email you and start the conversation of, hey, here's the details that, if you didn't get enough detail from the website, let's have a conversation. But if you're ready to roll, here's what needs to happen next, and then we get you signed up. I can't recommend the course enough. A number of people on this call are on it, and they've recommended it and even left testimonials on our website. Like I said, we have a new member that hit me up the day after they joined saying the first video for them was worth the entire price, this discounted price of the course. Um, so I can't recommend that enough, not to sell it to you, but to give me an opportunity to serve you at a greater capacity at a price that my accountant yells at me for charging. And we're going to raise the price to its real price, which is basically going to be about 3 times what it's costing right now. So that's an opportunity that you do not want to miss. Uh, Minimum wage says, "What is the best way to stay de-stressed from work every day?" Well, I mean, some of that's going to be unique to you, right? So, I mean, the key, if your job is stressful, you got to have something in your life. For example, fitness is a great way to get rid of stress because there's a giant physical exertion and then your body releases endorphins that calm you down, make you feel better, right? So, fitness is a huge way to do that, but also having hobbies that you enjoy that don't require you to be in a stressful state. Eating right and sleeping right is also very important. Let's see. Reading Dave says, "Thank you for tonight." Word, my pleasure. Reading Dave. Kaya says, "Even being vulnerable, they can't see." All right, and I think we're still waiting on Tyler Brown to get his question in there. Tyler must be writing his memoirs, dude. It's funny too, because the oh no, that's not funny. Never mind. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let's see. Alyssa says, "I'm in the program. I have a testimonial on the page. Mine by far is not the best one, so watch more." Yours is fine. Yours is honest and to the point, which is all I could ask for. I thought it was very good. Tyler says, "Here's a question. So me and my friends are in college. We go to different universities, and we're all a fan of video games. This is usually the only way we get to socialize with each other, and because of how convenient it is to get on our computers and play games, we tend to spend a lot of time doing it, which means I don't work on things as much as I usually do. I feel pressured by a lot of friends to stay late and play games with my friends when I could. Uh, be working on my drawing, school's work, and other things. When I could be working on my drawings, okay? And it's highly addicting, so I lose track of time. How do I handle this situation where I want to spend less time playing games? But this also tends to be most of my social interactions for the week. So you need to set boundaries, dude. I mean, you answered your own question. You're playing too much games. You need to play less. You need to set time limits. And when your friends start whining about it, tell them to frickin' grow a pair and do a push-up. Uh, have a Coke and a smile and shut up. But most importantly, you need to set boundaries for yourself. So you need to figure out how much time do you need to actually get your work done. Um, and then you need to give yourself, I mean, give yourself some time to play games and enjoy yourself. That's part of the experience. But you need to better you need to better budget your time. And if you don't know how to do that, there's probably a million YouTube videos about time budgeting that'll, like, my mentor actually walked me through an exercise that I can't show you here. Um, in fact, in my private coaching program that was just 10 people that I coached last year, I actually gave them the exercise because these were entrepreneurs that were trying to maximize, their effectiveness and stuff. So I took them through, what I call the 30-minute exercise. And you need to budget out your time, and then you need to make a promise to yourself that you're going to get your work done and not spend too much time gaming, and then keep that promise. Sorry about the link. No, don't be sorry, man. It's fine. All right. Anybody else got questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace, because I'm bouncing. And I love you all like brothers and sisters. But homeboy needs to eat and sleep. Although I might do a Twitch stream. I might just do a Twitch stream. I don't know. Actually, what time is it? Is it midnight? Might be able to sneak in a Twitch stream. We'll see. Tyler Brown says, "Thanks for taking your time to answer these questions. It's what I do, man. That is how we do it around here. It's my pleasure to serve." Good night. You must not get too much sleep if you're on the East Coast. Well, I do. I won't wake up very early. I'll just sleep in later. When I do stuff with you guys, I just sleep in later. And a lot of my doctor's appointments and stuff I have to do are not violently early in the morning, so I can make it to my treatments without having to sacrifice sleep, and still get all the stuff done that I have to do. Can't think of one right now. Thank you as always, Brian Kira. It's my pleasure. Good night, says Lisa. Cool. So if I do stream on Twitch, I'll see you guys over there in a couple of minutes. If I don't, I'll probably see you tomorrow. I don't know that I'll be doing a live stream here on YouTube tomorrow night. Depends on, I've got some stuff going on that I need to take care of, so we'll see what happens. He has 4 kids. He will never sleep peacefully again. That's the bigger issue, is the younglings. Anyway, beautiful people. Like I said, pat yourselves on the back, especially if you made it all the way through this video. Um, you guys are awesome. I can't thank you enough for being willing to spend time with me. Allow me to just express my thanks to all of you for being here. Encourage all of you that, all your dreams, all the things you're trying to accomplish are absolutely possible if you're willing to um, go through the process of self-discovery and willing to put in the work and be disciplined and consistent. There's pretty much nothing you can't accomplish with self-awareness and the willingness to be disciplined and consistent at the things you need to do to accomplish whatever is in your heart to do. I love you all very much. Remember that always, that we are stronger than I. Also, like I said, if you have questions, and I'll just post it for you guys one more time, um, feel free to hit me up. Hold on, apps being silly. So if you do have questions about the coaching program, like I said, I'm going to post the link for you guys one more time if you want to click on it. Um, let's see. Thank you for recommending the book. Really, I don't read these kinds of books. Okay, cool. Doing laundry, so I'll be up for a little while, says Kira. I'm so down for Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get one in. I gotta eat though. So we'll see how long that takes. But yeah, definitely at the very least, go to the website for the coaching program, read about it, see if it's something that you think is gonna add value to you. Spoiler alert, it is. And then just request access because all that does is start a conversation between you and I. Um, Pretty much all the details you should need are on the page, but a lot of people have other questions, very specific, good questions. So I'm more than willing to answer those as well. So, anyway, friends, as always, stay strong. I love you much, and I'll see you soon. Peace.